let's take some sips of water.
Oh, that's a very good idea.
Deep breaths.
I'm so hydrated.
I'm leaving that in the episode.
Sorry?
What?
Oh, no.
Nothing. Okay, never mind. I'm cutting it all out.
No. This went so wrong.
Oh God. Oh Jesus.
Are you good, man?
All right, I'm good. I'm good.
Oh,
We're good.
man.
The water went down the wrong pipe.
Oh, we couldn't have written that if we wanted to.
We're a disaster. I don't know how they do it, man. I don't know how the big names do it. I don't know who the big names are, but they do it.
But they do it. They do it without making sippy sounds.
They do it without choking on water and dying on air. Well, I don't know. Somebody's probably died on air.
I hope not.
Not us, though. You can't kill me.
No, man. We're alive and well. We're alive and well.
Yeah, man. Well, we're alive. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. I'm one of those things. I wanted to dive. I'm gonna ambush you. This is gonna become a theme. We ambush on this show. We ambush each other. I wanted to ambush you with the order of things because I know that we want to be talking about shows that we've been rewatching and watching and stuff like that, and we don't have any plans on whether it's at the beginning of an episode, end of an episode, or if it's at every episode whatsoever. But I totally forgot to mention last time about an anime that I have been just loving to bits.
Which you have my attention.
Yeah, which is Hajime no Ippo. Do you know this anime?
I know the name. Why can I not place characters? And I can't place characters to it.
It is the quintessential classic boxing anime.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
I know that one. Yeah. You've been watching that?
Oh, man, have I ever. So, have you watched many sports anime?
I have watched, God, what's that futuristic boxing one?
Oh, yeah,
Megalobox. Megalobox, I've watched that one. And I think that's about it.
Not bad. Because, I think that was probably a lot of people's first foray into it. Honestly, that was probably my first foray into a sports anime. That one's just easily digestible, not super long seasons. And it's, really gritty. And it's modern, but they threw this, classic look on it.
It's kind of like they mixed Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop with a boxing
100%. Anime. Absolutely, it's that. It's all three of those things. It's got that vibe. And the funny thing is, I think the third thing is Ippo. It's like they mixed Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and Hajime no Ippo together and made this glorious thing, which is gritty and intense and a cool idea. Funny enough, I feel like the Megalobox part of it doesn't even I think it's just boxing. I don't know if you got that vibe, but I felt like the supplementary robot arms were more for cool points than they were a functional part of the sport.
They really were. They just wanted that cyberpunk dystopian
100%.
point.
Yeah, they just wanted yeah, exactly. They just wanted to look a certain way and have a little differentiator, and it was totally cool. But they definitely didn't go too deep into the mechanics of those. And anyway, fantastic show. I'm stoked that you've seen it. Have you seen both seasons? Do you think?
I haven't seen it, but I have heard of it. Now that you put it into picture, I remember what it is.
Yeah. And so I've been watching Hajime no Ippo, and boy, it's good. What brought me back to it was I always knew I wanted to watch it. And the one time I tried to watch it, I didn't have access to the original. So the original aired in 2000. Yeah, and it has in 2000 it had its original run, and then in 2009 there was kind of a second season that's 25-ish episodes, and then 25-ish more episodes came out in 2014. But I couldn't find the original 76 episodes from the early 2000s, and so they're on Crunchy. And so I finally came around to them. But what inspired me to do so was actually another sports anime that you've no doubt heard of, which is Haikyuu.
I was going to say it. I was going to say Haikyuu.
It's so good. Like, it is, it's unbelievably good. Haikyuu.
I have only heard great things about it.
It is just wholesome and intense. And honestly, we could probably do, once you... That can be on maybe your list. Once you dig into one of these or something, we could have a whole probably episode of sports anime, and I won't turn this episode into that.
Oh, that'd be sick,
right? I would love to talk to you about that. Like, as somebody yourself who hasn't seen it, I think it would spark a lot of cool conversation. So, Haikyuu was just so unexpectedly good. I have no interest in volleyball whatsoever, and I do now. Like, I find it so much more interesting now. But watched that, loved that, and others were saying like, yeah, it takes inspiration from all of these sports anime that came before it, and classics can be hard to watch. And so I was always worried that if I started Ippo, I wouldn't get too into it because of sort of the way it looks. And kind of like I was saying with One Piece last time, lately I've just been jumping into shows regardless of what they look like, and been really falling in love with a bit wider variety of styles. Like I was saying, One Piece is so cartoony. Well, Ippo has this gritty classic look, but the characters' faces and stuff they're just a little rounder than I'm used to. Like, they just have this different style to them than the Dragon Ball Z's and Demon Slayers and stuff like that. So
the sharp, well-defined characters.
Yeah, and the bright colors and all of that. Like, it's just a little different, but it works for what it is. And then the characters ended up being so endearing. And anyway, I don't mean to commandeer the whole conversation, and we can go deep into Ippo and Haikyuu and even Megalobox another time, but I wanted to bring it up because when I was listing all of the shows that I've been watching, that's literally the one that I've been binging harder than any other, and it didn't come up. I crushed all 76 episodes over the last couple months. And now,
you went ham.
I did. I just couldn't stop. I love martial arts, and what's cool about Ippo. So here's the last thing I'll say about sports anime is, so far, even though I've only seen a couple, I vastly prefer the idea of the sport having visual metaphors, but not superpowers. As in, if you're going to show me an uppercut called the gazelle punch and you're going to make it look like a very cool uppercut, I'm in. But if you were to do that with like a Dragon Ball Z energy beam, all of a sudden my belief that we're in a boxing ring disappears, and not in necessarily a good way. Like, I'd rather watch a Dragon Ball Z World Tournament if that's the case, right?
Yeah, I get that. Absolutely.
And so there's like a basketball anime called Kuroko's Basketball. I think it's just called Kuroko's Basketball.
Kuroko no Basketball.
That's the one. And I've started it, and I think it has a lot of promise, but they have a little bit more, maybe quite a bit more superpower-esque stuff to them, like just less believable things. Whereas they do things in Ippo and Haikyuu that are blown out of proportion, but they're not like shooting lasers, like they're not shooting beams. They're just showing sport way more dynamically and still doing the impossible. Like the character in Haikyuu can jump like way too high, but it's still a lot more believable. So Ippo is one of those. Haikyuu is one of those.
Doesn't Haikyuu do it for the comedic effect more than anything else? I kind of got that vibe from it from the few clips I've seen.
There's like, which do you mean, like the jumping high itself is a comedic thing?
Well, just like, the over-exaggerated, almost superpower style sort of thing they do, even though they're like high schoolers or whatever doing volleyball.
I don't think it's a punchline. Like, I think that there's a little bit of contrast that's humorous in that, like, the main character is meant to be like quite short, or one of the main characters, Hinata, the orange-haired boy that is on the cover of everything. He's pretty short is the idea, but he can jump.
Oh, okay.
Which is Like he can jump and he makes up for his height with his inhuman jumping abilities. But I don't think in that particular show they're blowing it out of proportions and making them jump high to be silly in any way. They are trying to ground it in reality. They're just saying like, yes, this kid can jump somewhat unrealistically high, but they don't even make it like unrealistically high where he's not jumping above the net in some like hack way.
Yeah.
He's just able to jump like a monster human would be.
Like a pro basketball player or something.
Yeah, totally. Whereas some of these other shows, they legit will do like beam struggles on a soccer field type stuff.
Oh,
and you're like, I don't know.
Just settle down. Settle down.
So, yeah. So that's mine for that's mine for this segment is what have I been watching? EPO, and between last episode and this episode, I finished the original run, and now
nice.
Ironically, I can't find the second season anywhere now.
How
just like I couldn't find the first. I don't know.
How does that work? That makes no sense.
Remarkable. Like for years I couldn't find the original, and now I have the original and I have the third season, and I'm tempted to just go watch the third season, but there's 25 episodes in the middle that I would love to. Maybe I'll read the manga.
Oh, there you go.
It's one of the longest running mangas of all time.
Is it really?
Ippo's still going.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and the friend of mine who introduced me to it, or I do have a friend who also, he's kind of the one who sparked me finally pulling the trigger on watching it, despite all this Haikyuu stuff and people saying that it's such a good sport anime. What made me pull the trigger was a friend of mine here who showed me a clip from it, and then he told me this. He told me, and we can fact check this later, but I'm pretty sure it's true based on the one Google search I've done. George Harikawa, the guy who wrote Hajime no Ippo, or still is writing it, he studied boxing. I think he was a boxer in some capacity.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
And he now, this is the part that I do know is true, isn't it? He has a boxing gym in Tokyo.
That's even cooler.
Right? Like here he is, like writing this story on boxing, and it's because he's living it. You know what I mean? So I find that so neat, and I think it really shows in that story because it's like I was saying before, grounded in reality, and it's like, oh, this feels like it's coming from somebody who really cares and knows about the sport.
Yeah, I love when that happens when they translate real life and all their stuff into their art.
It definitely is, and it is very refreshing for someone like myself that is really in love with like the big transformations and the beam struggles and the power moves and stuff. I do love all that stuff, but it is refreshing to go in the other direction and see the real world come through this art form as well, like you were just kind of saying.
Yeah,
so
I can respect that.
So that one's mine, and so here's the ambush. What else have you been watching in the last little bit?
Wow, man, you went in this with a God, what's the word I'm looking for here? Oh my God, I can't remember the word.
Like I had one hot in the chamber.
You did, yeah. Oh God, I can't remember the word. It's when you have something planned and you go in with a plan. What is it?
Is it called going in with a plan?
Yeah, but there's a word. There's a fancy word for it, and I was thinking the word up all day.
Wait, really?
Yeah. I had something planned too. Agenda. You had an agenda and so did I.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, God.
Reverse it on me. Where's your agenda at? What's your agenda?
I was going to hit you with a rewatch, and I was going to right some wrongs from the first episode.
Ooh, I'm game for that. I could right some wrongs.
All right. Okay. If you think you've got some wrongs to right.
The only one, I've hogged the spotlight here talking about my sports anime, so I'll keep this really quick. I have to go back to that last episode and say the words Knights of the Zodiac.
Yeah.
and Saint Seiya. I couldn't, just like you couldn't remember the word agenda, I could not remember. I was like, why Knights of Sidonia? Why was this reminding me of Saint Seiya? And why can't I remember the name Saint Seiya? Well, it's because Knights of the Zodiac was what it was called way back in the day when it was on TV for me. And so that's why I was picturing a completely different anime in the last episode. So that's my one right the wrongs that I wanted to go back on.
Wow, your list is short. Okay, thanks for making a dick out of me. Great.
Well, go nuts.
Okay. Well, first of all, I last episode I wanted to do this preemptively. Now I guess it's still preemptively, but in the moment, I wanted to apologize for any instances where I will cut you off, because I think you're going to do this too, and this isn't me being rude. We're going to be talking about something, and we're going to be deep into it, and I know one of us is going to formulate a thought or comment on that current subject that we don't want it to, get away from us before it becomes irrelevant.
Totally.
So
absolutely.
Just any instance.
And you got to get it out.
Yeah, like that. Any instance where it happens, just a preemptive apology. So there's that.
Right back at you, and apologizing to the listener for that too, because when we do it, we might accidentally cut off each other's flow. But I totally agree that it's hard when you've got an idea to jump in with, but I don't mind at all, is what I'll say.
As long as it is adding to the conversation or it's funny.
Exactly. Absolutely. But yeah, I blather on, so you can always jump in.
If I can think of something, don't worry, I will. Otherwise, I just like letting you go with the flow. All right. Second thing was I needed to apologize for all the stuttering and the jittering and the hesitating I did.
Oh my goodness, Tristan! You don't apologize for that under these circumstances. Don't listen to him, guys.
Listen. I go a long, like right there. I go a long time without verbally speaking, and then it happens, and I'm like, wait a minute. The brain is working, but there is input delay to the mouth. So there is that.
Lag happens to us all.
Yeah, it does. As long as it can be a little humorous to somebody, or they're not getting nervous. Like what? Why is he stuttering? Is he okay? Did he die? I did at the start of this episode.
I don't. Yeah.
R.I.P.
Play that clip.
God, just me coughing into your ears.
I don't know. I don't think. Look, I just did it. I think that it blends in. It can blend in pretty naturally, and I don't notice it at all when you do it. I don't think these guys are worried about it at all. But hey, I could be wrong. Maybe they appreciate the heck out of that apology.
Yeah, maybe they do. I mean, the thing is with podcasts, I feel like the first episode is going to suffer from one of two things: the lack of something to say or the inability to say it. I lacked the inability to say it, and that was it. I'm okay with living with that. That won't kill us.
That's one tiny thing. Yeah, none of it's going to kill us.
No. And the third thing is because I was nervous, I sort of misinterpreted my expression of the themes of Made in Abyss. Yeah. So I got ahead of myself last time. The whole point of Made in Abyss is it's trying to maintain wonder and hope and a sense of adventure and joy and kindness in a very uncaring, violent world that has already taken that from the people around you. And it's easier to convey that with, kids and more youthful, fun-loving little people like Luffy or something like that, that
are having to experience the darkness of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds like a heavy theme. That sounds like a good theme.
Yeah.
It sounds like a theme we need.
I wanted to apologize because it felt weird when I said kids a lot because, I mean, what can you do when, they are?
Well, they are. Yeah, that's just the case. I will tell you this. After that conversation, I went and tried to spin up Made in Abyss, and it is not currently on Crunchyroll.
No, it's on, for those of you who care, it's on High Dive and Amazon Prime.
I couldn't find it on Amazon Prime either.
What?
Up here in Canada.
I will have to check again. North.
Yeah, I checked everywhere after that because you're really selling me on Made in Abyss. And I wanted to watch something that's on your list that I hadn't seen. So I went looking for it, didn't find it, and finished Depot instead.
Hey, I mean, it's a fair trade.
Yeah.
I can respect that.
Nice.
And that was it for that part. That was the 3-part agenda prior to the what I've been rewatching.
Yeah, and so what have you been rewatching?
Demon Slayer. After
I'm so excited.
Yeah, after our talk, I was like, you know what? I need to rewatch it. I need to see where we are now versus where we were when it started. Very different place. Oh my god.
So when you say rewatch, where did you
very
start from
beginning.
and how far did you get? Oh,
The very
wow.
beginning.
And where did you get to?
Last night I got to the Spider Mountain. I can't remember the name of the actual mountain, but you say Spider Mountain in Demon Slayer. People know.
We know what you're talking about. Oh yeah.
It's so crazy, man, because like now when I think of those guys, like already in my brain, you know, they're already best friends. They weren't when they started. Like Inosuke is a little brat when they meet him.
Totally. He actually that might be our segue. Unless you have another rewatch that you want to dive into, but I think that might bleed into what we should talk about today, which is really cool characters. And if I could say one thing about Inosuke, it's that development is so cool. Like that is one of the key little things that I love in a good character, in anime or in anything, is where do they start from and in what ways do they grow and how is that shown and stuff. And Inosuke is such a cool example because you're so right. He is such a brat and borderline like annoying in his own way.
Yeah,
right?
really
Like everybody bashes Zenitsu for coming in hot with the annoyingness, you know.
Oh, God,
but
yeah.
again, we can talk for days about how he's developed as well. The one thing I'll say about Inosuke is you're so right about him being a brat, and then the way they show him grow is so interesting to me because it's very much show don't tell, in that later on, actually I'm struggling to remember if it's before or after Spider Mountain. I think it's after the Spider Mountain, when he gets to see Tanjiro behave in the ways he behaves in there, and Inosuke takes inspiration from that difference in their character. And then not only do you get to see him being inspired by that difference in character, they go off and they train after this. Spoiler, I know that you're rewatching it right now, so I don't want to steal the emotions of you seeing this, but they go and they train some more. And I love the little admiration bubbles that they show around Inosuke remember that when the little old lady is
I was gonna say,
doting upon them.
Yeah, so whenever somebody's being nice to Inosuke, it cuts to a close up of him making this silly, cute little noise and like these weird little bubbles popping up around him.
Yeah,
I didn't notice that the first time because the first time you're just kind of going in for the story, but this time I noticed. I was like, he is resonating with people who are being really nice to him, and he's picking up on that. And
how cool is that? And jog my memory. Awesome. Is that before or after the Spider Mountain?
That is 1 or 2 episodes before Spider Mountain. Yeah, that nice little old lady that owns that. It's basically like a hostel for demon slayers.
Yeah, like a little recovery zone.
Yeah,
hostel.
I was gonna say hospice.
So that's before. Yeah, I mean probably sometimes.
Probably yeah.
If we're being honest, the job entails a lot of bit of death.
Just a little bit, every now and then. And none that breaks your heart and makes you wish life was better.
Oh, man. You're going to rewatch it.
I know. Oh, God.
You're barreling towards it.
I am.
Man, that's a big one. But that's the kind of thing that I love about characters, because we're going to talk a lot about different characters tonight, and I think that a core feature of a cool character is where do they begin, where do they go from there, and how do they get there. That might seem like a really basic sentence, but that's kind of the recipe, right? Like,
yeah,
you've got Inosuke starts as this bratty, obnoxious beast man. He still gets to keep all of his cool beastliness that we love.
He's still a little wild child.
Exactly. And then along the way, he grows more integrated with the party, more that admiration for how Tanjiro and these other people behave changes him. Like that's so realistic, and that harks back to what I was talking about last episode, which is just that when you have these fantastical worlds and superpowers and all this stuff that it suspends our belief, like it takes us into a fantastical world, which is one of the things we want. But what also happens is the things the characters do and say and the ways that they grow give us little reflections of ourselves or the real world in some capacity. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it's like we talked about. It's that human aspect and that whole crazy thing that brings it to a bit of relatability.
Yeah, totally. So I was thinking that's a really good springboard into characters, but anything more, like we can keep talking Demon Slayer for a bit here. What else have you noticed on your rewatch of Demon Slayer?
I noticed this with Zenitsu. I did not realize he's actually a sweetheart. I genuinely didn't know, like, not in one instance, just that's who he is. Like, he's a loudmouth idiot and he screams a lot. He's actually probably the second sweetest person next to Tanjiro. And that's saying a lot.
Totally saying a lot. But I think you're bang on. Like, when I rewatched it gives me goosebumps just talking about it. When I rewatched it and you first meet Inosuke, like, tell me how this moment made you feel when you rewatched it just last night or the other day. When I watched it and you get introduced to Inosuke, and the first thing that Zenitsu does is pick up Nezuko in the box and is like taking care of Nezuko's, like, just because he knew what was in there due to his senses, but he protected it because of who Tanjiro is and that he would protect it with his life. Like, Tanjiro says he'll protect it with his life. And because of that, to your point of Zenitsu being such a sweetheart, he's like, well, Tanjiro will protect it with his life. And even though I'm scared to death that there's a demon in this box, I will protect it with my life. And I'm just like, oh, what do you mean?
No, it's so true. Beautiful. I love that moment. And it wasn't even just the fact that he knew that it meant something to Tanjiro. It's because he knew instantly from meeting Tanjiro just how incredible of a person he really is.
Totally.
I love that. Totally. I love every instance. It just shows us that, like, there's no hatred or cynicism or anything bad in Tanjiro's system.
Yeah, they like validate it. They validate it with Zenitsu's powers. I think at that point, Zenitsu can like hear it. He can hear his purity.
I love
his chillitude.
His chillitude. That should be the official name of it in the manga.
Tanjiro's chillitude soul.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's actually a good band name. What?
Chillitude breathing.
There we go.
It'll beat the demons.
It probably did. We haven't read it. We don't know.
Oh, that's right. But wow, I am really pumped that that's your rewatch.
It's been a great time. I went in on it last night. Got to the Suzumi house and then right up to the mountain, which some epic stuff happens on that mountain, and I'm excited to see it again.
Yeah, you bet. So amazing.
So yeah, man, that's the rewatch, and that's the start of the episode. Characters. God, this is gonna be a deep one.
I think so. Like we've already kind of jumped into it a little bit with Inosuke, and it's funny when I was trying to come up with a list of characters to dig into. You know, at first my brain was just going to some of my typical big favorites, and I'm like, come on, like there's more. Who are they? And then as I started to kind of jot some down, I was like, oh yeah, there's this and this and this, and they just started to flow. And I think kind of like last episode, I've got a long list of kind of samey answers, but they each, in this particular case, they each really do have their own reasons why they shine in my heart anyway. And we probably won't have time to get into every single one of them in this particular episode, but maybe we will. Maybe we'll just rapid fire them, and that's just my list. Like, I've got, I don't know, probably a dozen names here that I could dig into, and but I mean, how about you start us off with? You can start us anywhere you want. Like, who's on your mind? What do you have in mind for talking about characters just in general?
Well, first of all, are we just doing characters in general, or is this also our favorites?
I think that really good question. I think that we mix those together. I think that an easy place to start is just say, like, because all of these are favorite characters that I listed down. A couple of them are my favorites, and maybe we start with our favorites if you've got yours. and then we can dig into those ones, and then we can go from there. Because I definitely, that's what opened my mind, is when I went to the place of favorite favorites, because I would love to tell everybody about those. Once I opened my mind beyond just the, okay, who we've got the top people that you could talk about for days, but who else? And once I opened up that perimeter, it was like, okay, there's a lot of depth here, a lot of cool characters here. So I'm down to talk about favorites and just characters in general, and what you love about them, and why, and all that good stuff.
Okay, well, let's all kick off our shoes and just relax for this one. Let's lean back in our chairs. Okay, I got to think. So I was thinking about this today. I was trying to figure out who my top 3 favorite characters are. I don't know who the third one is, and this is another situation where 2 are tied for number 1.
Oh man, love it.
And 1 is basic, and 1 might surprise you. So I'll let you decide which one you want.
Perfect.
So we can go basic, or we can go the one that will probably take you in a lot by surprise.
Well, I think we should save the surprise. Hit me with the basic, and then shock me with the follow-up.
All right. So the basic character is Kakashi from Naruto.
Oh, beautiful.
He is... I love that character so much, and don't worry, we'll get into it. And the guy that's tied for that place with him is Netero from Hunter x Hunter.
Ooh.
Yeah, of all the characters, he is my number 1 favorite in that entire story, just rife with incredible people.
Man, I mean, I'm willing to take spoilers to hear about both these guys, because I've seen them both in action. I've not fully caught up on either story in anime or manga forms, and so I'm super behind. But I would love to hear about what makes these guys your favorite characters.
I'm going to start with Kakashi first, because that one's sort of easier to get into to a degree. Because obviously, when I first got into Naruto and they introduced him, like, I like the character for the surface reasons. He's really cool, right?
Totally. Yeah, he definitely is.
Like, the second he shows up, you're like, oh, I bet this guy's really strong. I need to see him in a good fight.
I want to be that guy.
I do. He's so cool. At least let me have the hair like that. Come on.
Yeah, give me an excuse to wear a headband sideways covering one eye.
So, like I said, surface reasons is how it started out, but then I started to get deeper into the series. And they sprinkle it in through, did you hear that whistle? They sprinkled it in through the, through original Naruto. Like, Kakashi has this tragic backstory that every person he ever loved died in the war before we got to know him and, you know, our current crop of characters. This is a spoiler going into Shippuden for you. There's a whole, I don't know how many episodes it is, but there's a decent amount of episodes that go into Kakashi's backstory that really show you who he was versus who he is now, which is such an incredible journey to go on. It's like we were talking about, it's that growth in the character that is so phenomenal to see. But of course, we got it a little late. We were just kind of riding on the coattails of really cool dude who cares about his pupils for so long.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, that's actually really neat that they chose to do that. Like, hey, we're going to make this guy just drip cool, and then later we're going to tease this backstory, give you like little breadcrumbs, and then later we're going to hit you with the real heaviness of it.
Yeah, and they do.
I've seen, does that culminate in the Obito fight?
Yeah, you've seen it? Yes, it does.
Yeah. This is why in some instances some spoilers are fine, and I think for the sake of the hype of this episode, like I had a really good friend show me that fight,
it's so
and explain to me the impact of it, and I it's so artistically phenomenal that I don't even know if you need somebody to explain. Like, it tells its own story in a way, that Obito fight, and you know, so I mean, please, if you want to riff on that, there's no worries of spoilers there.
It's so funny that you said that though, because I showed it to your significant other one night. She's like, "Oh, they were best friends once, weren't they?" I was like, "Shut up!" And like, if you can just pick that up just by watching the fight, I mean, come on, that is incredible. Yeah, that's the best kind of storytelling.
Yeah, it just stands on its own. You know, like you can just watch this fight and you can get all of the depth in. And I mean, the fight is so sick. It
is probably the best anime fight I've seen.
I know it's up there.
I know that's the basic answer, but it's so good. And by the way, I've been saying all this. I know they intercut it from when they were kids sparring. You can cut that out and you can still pick that up just from them fighting as adults. At least I think anyway.
That's interesting. I would like to see that actually. Like you're saying, you take the intercut bits of story of them like flashing back to kids. You take those out, and you still think you get the meaning of the story.
Think you
Am I
do,
understanding that right? Oh, that'd be fun to try. Like get somebody to. Not that anybody would want to edit that stuff out because that stuff's some of the coolest parts of the choreography, but it's a cool idea just to see if the story comes through.
I think you'd be able to pick it up just based on the fact their fighting style is so... It's like dancing almost. It's how well it contrasts each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're just like, you would get the sense like, oh, these guys have done this before.
Yeah.
Like you would just, and
like then, they know each other, but how?
Yeah.
So,
and then you get the conclusion of that because like... I've only seen it in a vacuum, like by itself, but if I understand correctly, Kakashi kills Obito.
He mortally wounds him, if that means anything to you.
Ah, I see. Yeah, and so the reason I mention that at all is it's just that punctuation on the whole story, right? Like there's a heaviness to... And again, this is coming from somebody who doesn't know Kakashi's whole story, but good storytelling is here. And you're talking about how we've got these breadcrumbs of Kakashi's story being tragic and everybody dying. Yeah. And then here you've got the Obito fight. And even if you only know that Kakashi's backstory feels that way up until this point, then you watch that Obito fight and he is forced to effectively kill his old best friend kind of thing. Like it's just heavy punctuation on a highly emotional story.
It really is, and it's done so well and so beautifully through both characters too, which is a very big part of it.
That's awesome. I love
Kakashi and Obito so much.
I don't even know anything about Obito because I've only seen that fight and a little bit of them as kids kind of thing. So I'd be curious to hear about his character too.
You know what's crazy is despite the fact that my dog is named after him, he's probably my third favorite character in Naruto.
That's awesome. That's so good. I love anime pet names. Well, okay. I wanted to say one more thing about Kakashi, which is that for me, I'm a sucker for like a good teacher character.
Yeah, I am too. We're gonna get into that because I got one too.
Nice. Before you jump into Netero, you've piqued my interest on Obito being third favorite. Who's filling that second favorite Naruto character spot?
Pain from the Akatsuki.
I've seen that same friend of mine has shown and explained to me some pain related stuff, but I wouldn't be able to riff on that as easily. But he's that cool too, hey?
Oh, he is so awesome. That's another like character design wise, he's really cool. But then you learn who he is, and you're just like, oh my god, there's no way this is happening.
Wow,
it's so wild. I
love a story like that.
That's probably the best arc in Naruto, in my opinion, anyway.
Really?
Mm-hmm. The pain arc.
Wow.
Everything with the Akatsuki is so cool, though.
They seem pretty cool. That's where I've left off. Is I can't even remember what's going on, but definitely I'm at the kind of beginning of Shippuden, and the Akatsuki are doing stuff and things, and so
they're still
it's just this tease that they are the big bads, and I just want to get up in there, So I got to pick it up again.
Yeah, you do, because they're the coolest group of villains I've seen in a long, long time.
You a fan of the Phantom Troop?
I am, actually. God, great. Put me on the spot again. Okay, they're both tied for the first spot. We're doing that a lot.
Yeah. I was just like, Akatsuki, we got this like really cool group of big bads, and then I'm like, some people say the Phantom Troop's the best group of villains of all time.
They kind of are, though.
They do seem pretty cool. I've proportionately I've seen too. From what I've seen, yeah. They are. I've seen them proportionately more than I've seen the Akatsuki, I suppose, when thinking about both anime and the Phantom Troop is pretty cool.
They don't take too long to get into the Phantom Troop. That's like the third arc, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And gets pretty nuts.
It does. It's
so
crazy.
Actually diving into Hunter. Yeah, go for it. Netero. He seems cool too. Go nuts. Dude,
I don't know where to start with him, man. Like that's another Yeah, that's another character design that's really cool. You know, he's got the ponytail, he's got the beard, he's got the single tooth geta. That's what those clogs he wears are called.
Oh.
Yeah, I looked it up because I
really?
wanted a pair because I want to break my ankles.
Because I just want my ankles to be turned to dust.
I want to walk like Bambi because I like this anime character who wears these shoes. If I can even stand
I would
them.
100% do it. Did you find a pair?
I found a few online, but then I had to remember I have big American feet, so ordering is going to
more
be
challenging.
Yeah. So I got to keep that in mind going forward. If anybody is a woodworker who listens to this.
We need 2 pairs of single tooth geta, you said?
Yep. So if anybody's
in size 11?
Oh, yep, size 11 too. Yep. So 2 size 11 single ippon getas, please. Thank you.
Love it. Love it.
You can tell I look.
That is a very cool
stuff up.
design element. Yeah, well, why not?
Yeah, it is really cool. But they did something in the 2011 anime that they didn't, or his introduction is. I'm getting ahead of myself. His introduction in the 2011 is different from the 90s anime.
Oh.
So in the 90s anime, when they introduce Netero, he's crouched down in his blimp or in the hunter office. He's crouched down on one leg and he's using the other leg to lift up a glass of juice to his mouth that he drinks from a straw. Just all casual and nonchalant. What? You know what? I'm going to look it up and send it to you because it's so cool and it's so absurd to his character.
That's awesome. I've only seen the 2011, so I've not seen that.
Man, I kind of wish they had done that in 2011 because that's such a great way to introduce a character.
Sometimes cool little bits just get left out when
they still introduce him really cool though.
I forget, how do they do it?
So there was a dispute going on during one of the trials, and they called him in, and he just shows up. He jumps out of a friggin' blimp that's like a good amount of feet in the air.
Yeah.
And he just leaves this crater and casually walks up to everybody to see what's
in his,
going on.
Hands behind the back pose, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. It's so cool.
I do love like an old master type character.
I do too. I just sent you how they introduced him in the 99 series.
Awesome. Can't wait to check it out.
It's just a little image, but it encapsulates the characters so perfectly.
Oh, that's perfect. You guys can't see this, but you guys can look it up. It is, you know what? You're so right using the word encapsulates. Like, what a cool, like, I don't know everything about this character, but that's such a good way to share a bunch of subtleties about his character just in one motion. Him picking up this juice with his foot.
It's so cool. And then he just casually puts it down. He's like, okay, we're going to go to work now.
Cool. I love it.
One of the big key things I love about Netero is it goes back to us talking about like we love the old master type character, and every old master is always really, really goofy and fun loving, but he's also serious when he needs to be.
It's one of my absolute favorite character traits. Like, it's so funny you say that because multiple characters on my list have that feature as well. So I love that you love that because it's so admirable. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's one of those traits that I want to bring into real life as well, that I think is possible to bring into real life, which is this idea that we don't need to take everything so seriously until we do. Like, there could be moments of seriousness for sure. And so these characters are just really cool, exaggerated examples of that, where they're just lighthearted and goofy and having a good time making themselves and everyone else laugh, and then they can turn it on when things get dire. Yeah. So I haven't seen Netero get dire yet. Tell me more.
Oh man, that's another thing. Like, Netero is the perfect contrast. He's serious but fun loving. He is ready to go into a fight if he needs to, but he would rather not. Because the whole thing about Netero is he's a classic martial artist Buddhist, right? And for some reason, I don't know, man. Maybe I was just still new to anime at the time, but that felt so fresh to me that it was something to attach to the second they started to delve into who he is.
This idea that he's super powerful but doesn't want to fight. Oh, so cool. And I could see how that'd be really refreshing.
It was so cool because they give you a brief dollop of how tough he is. Like, they blue ball you, dude, with that Chimera Antark and Netero.
Really?
They put him in a different...
I thought that's when you get to see him. No.
You do, but they really tease you up until it's time for the big fight.
No way.
And I hate it so much, but I also love it because it builds up the hype to a great place.
Awesome. Oh, I can't wait. That's like right where I am. So I'm pumped for that.
And
I have heard a little bit of his training and stuff.
Okay, I'm going to spoil this because it's so cool that I think you would love it too because you like martial arts. Netero, part of his backstory was he thought he had reached the peak of the mountain with martial arts and he didn't know what to do. So his decision to like better himself was to literally go to a mountain and he would throw 10,000 punches of gratitude every second of every minute of every hour of every day.
Gratitude?
Of gratitude. He would just stand there, punch once, pray, and then punch again.
That's the part that I had heard. I didn't know that it was gratitude based, but I had this friend tell me that it was like punch and pray, and that he compresses it into a ridiculous amount of short period of time over time.
Well, it takes him a long time at the start, and then like the idea is the more he progresses with it, like time just kind of flows so like a river. Like he started at night, and then like it's already an hour later or something like that.
Yeah. Oh,
it's so cool to watch and listen to.
That's awesome. Such a cool idea. And the fact that there's that prey aspect too. And I didn't know that it was because he thought he capped martial arts.
Yeah. Like, I don't know why that part's
amazing.
So awesome.
Oh, that's so awesome because progression.
Like, it is.
The just And there's also something awesome about complacency in there, you know? Like, that's another one of those real emotions that we've all felt where you're just like, you know, is this all there is kind of thing? And you know, here's a character who's dedicated his life to the study of something and thinks that he's kind of seen and done it all, I imagine. And then for him to go find a new layer, a new level to enjoy, basically.
That's exactly how they described it.
It's a magical thing, man.
And it plays into why he just gets so powerful because, yeah, like your friend said, it's punch and pray, but it's punching and praying for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I growing up into martial arts, I love the virtues in some practices of martial arts, like the martial artist mindset and philosophies of like respecting your opponent and like the fact that it's not about just harm. It's not about destructive power and doing damage. Like those things come into play, like harm happens, destructive power is advantageous for victory, but there's a level of humility and respect where it's just like, no, we're learning how to do this to control ourselves, and whether that's physically or emotionally or what have you. Like there's a level of self-mastery and there's the respect of the opponent across from you who you're grateful to have there, because if it weren't for them to be there, you wouldn't have something to strive against.
Exactly.
Right? And so and it's just this beautiful thing where instead of it just being about violence and victory, there's these levels of humility and respect and gratitude and growth
compassion
and self-mastery. Yeah, and that's a great one. Yeah, totally compassionate.
That's what plays into Netero too, is like, yeah, he loves martial arts, but he has this sense of compassion for everything around him. Because one of the things I said, he's a Buddhist, and he prays to, and you'll see it later because he summons it. He prays to, I always got the name wrong. I think it's Bodhisattva, I think is the name.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's... And that would be Buddhist. Yeah.
Yeah. And for a little backstory for people, the idea of Bodhisattva is it's this multi-armed god who practiced medicine and healing. So that's a big thing of Netero. So the fact that he prays to that one in particular, while also being a martial artist, I think is so incredible to the character and who he is.
Having those things come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's a perfect contrast too.
Yeah, a poetic contrast. That's awesome. I I knew I would like him, and I already do like him, the stuff that I've seen, but now you got me fired up.
He was just my favorite character for so long after I finished Hunter x Hunter. I could not stop ranting and raving about that psychotic old man.
That psychotic old man. Oh, I can't wait to get blue balled and then see him in action.
Oh, you're gonna be so happy when you see it, dude. It is incredible storytelling too.
That's awesome. That makes me want to jump around in the order of my list here, because we're kind of already into that archetype of goofy master.
Oh,
and so this is I've got two. Just looking at my list here, I'd say two of my characters fit that description quite well. One in particular. One is a way high up favorite, and then another is nowadays you'd probably think this is pretty basic, and I'll call him a basic up and comer, and that's I'll start with him.
Okay,
it's Gojo Satoru from
yes.
Jujutsu Kaisen. He's another one of your white-haired boys. You know, like it's funny that your two characters are.
You know what's funny is a lot
masters.
of my favorite characters are white-haired characters.
That's sweet. So this is a good opportunity to ask you, have you seen much Jujutsu Kaisen?
I have seen up to the end of the first season. I haven't seen the movie, though. I haven't seen Zero.
Okay, yeah. Nice. Zero's more of a prequel piece, which is sweet. But that's awesome that you've seen it, because it's another one of those ones that just like slapped me upside the head.
Dude, that one goes ham too.
It really does, like in emotional ways and in just like ridiculous animation ways. It's a very cool story. And I was, like everyone, just immediately in love with Gojo. Mm. And it was for the reasons that you mentioned about Netero. He's not the Master Roshi Netero old man archetype type master, but he's like the young and pretty version of that.
He really is.
He's even more youthful in his appearance, or maybe about as youthful in his appearance as Kakashi. But he's got an even more youthful energy to him, because Kakashi, demeanor, good word. Kakashi's he's got maximum chillitude, right? So, so then you've got Gojo, who, I mean, he comes out of the gate so silly. And I just love silly when it's paired with self-mastery. Like, and not even just self-mastery. I should just say mastery in a broader sense. Like whether it's self-mastery or just mastery over, I guess, the mastery over the world around you that comes from mastering your powers, so to speak. I will never forget when Gojo comes into the fray in... I think the fight's like episode 2, so end of episode 1. He's introduced, and you get to see his silliness and character show up in, or maybe it isn't the end of. You're right, it's episode 2. Sorry for all the folks that know the timeline better than me. I apologize. It is definitely episode 2. Watched it the other day. He shows up. He's silly. He's just gone shopping. Later, you find out how that probably involved just ridiculous levels of power that he has access to, which is still all a big mystery to me. But the thing that I'll never forget is when he asks if Yuji can let Sukuna out, and then he asks if he can do it for 10 seconds. And like, I don't think I'll even go into how much I do already really like Yuji. I won't bother, but he's a very fascinating character to me as well. But I love how nonchalantly Yuji's like, yeah, I think I can do that. and then, you know, you've got, gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Fukushiro, maybe the shadow caster guy. He's no, don't do it. Like, this is a terrible idea. Don't. and then Yuji's like, are you sure this is a good idea? And then Gojo drops this line that is so simple, but just blew my mind, which was, as he's doing his like Goku warm-up stretches, he's like, don't worry, I'm the strongest.
I knew it.
Right? I'm just like, that's not your average everyday line. Like in the English, the English dub is not terrible, but it's not my favorite. I'd way prefer to watch it in Japanese, and I had to go and watch it in English just to see how that line comes out. And unfortunately, they changed the wording a little bit, and it's still something to the effect of like, don't worry, I'm the stronger one, or don't worry, I'm stronger. But
Yeah.
that just doesn't have the just
weight.
sheer weight of don't worry, I'm the strongest. Because after he says that, his goofiness mixes with his cockiness and confidence, true confidence, throughout the rest of the show, and you're just like, what is this guy's deal? How is he so strong? And,
I know.
And the strength just gives him this freedom. Like I've just always loved the combination of confidence in one's own self-mastery, having emerged from it that goofiness, because you're able to take, I imagine you're able to take parts of life in a more lighthearted way, because you know that you've gone through whatever you've had to go through to gain that confidence, or what have you. And so it's cool. It's a power fantasy for sure to see characters like Netero and Gojo, but it's a very cool power fantasy where you know that these guys have gone through all of this crazy training or what have you, to like, they weren't just granted this. I mean, maybe Gojo was. I don't know his backstory yet, but I still think that there's an essence of
a lot of training had to go into that.
Yeah. So that's one that fits that archetype.
And the coolest thing about Gojo, though, is like he backs it up. Like he backs up that cocky attitude of his.
100%.
I love when a character is able to do that. And that makes it so much cooler.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so satisfying to watch.
That's the perfect word for it. It's just so satisfying. While we're on this archetype, slight detour to, I feel like I'm going to have all of my extra basic ones left after I drop this one, but there's a character in My Hero Academia.
Okay.
Fits his bill a little bit, which is, he's not the old master archetype necessarily, but he does fit the goofy, highly trained archetype. And that's Mirio Togata, Lemillion.
Oh man, I was hoping Aizawa, if I'm being honest.
Well, he would fit more I'm sure everybody can agree that he fits a bit more of the Kakashi
he really does.
slot, right? Which in and of itself, he's a fantastic character, Aizawa. Like he's funny, like they do great comedic relief with him, and his power's unbelievable. And he has some moments to shine that are just outstanding. But way more on the student side in this case is Lemillion. And
okay, that one took me by surprise big time.
Really good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm so glad, because he is one of the more interesting characters I have on here. Because like I totally have Deku on here. We can go into it if we want to, because there's a lot to love there. But this one caught me by surprise when we met him, because you meet him and you only get to see a couple episodes at the end of season 3, where they introduce the big 3 from the like later years of the school, and Lemillion just kicks the crap out of all these kids, and it's very cool, and in some ways it's just like a fun teaser for what's to come, and I think a lot of people probably took it that way. But Lemillion does this little dip into the origin of his powers that really hit me hard, like in a good way, where he's talking about, like, I've always loved superpowers, obviously, who doesn't,
right?
And who's watching anime who doesn't love superpowers? They're definitely something to inspire to for all of us. And I've always loved thinking about weird, seemingly weak superpowers, and how I would give almost anything to have even a weird, weak superpower, and then just try to make the most of it and do really cool things in regular life with it. And so Mirio comes in and beats the crap out of all these kids in an educational way. He's like, look, this is what you can aspire to be, right? And he's so funny doing it. He loses all his clothes, and you're like, what the heck? He's got that goofy look on his face, right? Like his design is quite
that never-ending smile with the dot eyes.
Yeah, it's just so endearing. And then he goes into this dip in his backstory where he's like, my power's terrible. And I had so much trouble with it as a kid, and people didn't really think I could make anything of it, but I trained. And I trained and I trained and I made it. I made it into a good quirk. And I was like it's giving me goosebumps right now, everybody. I was just like, man, you're telling me that you can take your crappy handout and you can train and turn it into something as amazing as what you just did to, like, forget the fact that you've got Deku, Todoroki, and Bakugo, and Ida for that matter. You've got the rest of Class 1A. You've got 20 kids with a myriad of powers, and you take them down with what with what appears to us to be a really overpowered, amazing quirk. Yeah. But then you explain to us that it isn't overpowered. It isn't mind-bogglingly good. It's actually his time spent with it, trying to understand it, trying to master it, trying to get creative with it, that led to it being as incredible as the displays that we get to see with it. And then you layer on the fact that later on you get to hear more about his his philosophy on being a hero and all of that. And of course, that's just icing on the cake. I'm just like, I love this guy. I love him because he's goofy, and I won't tell you anything that you haven't seen yet, but there's just a lot of stuff that has put a smile on my face with that guy. And I'm a sucker for something that I know you have seen is his interactions with Eri. And,
oh God,
it's just it's so good, right? Like, it just makes you feel so good.
It's so cute when I think about it. I love it so much.
Right. So
it's
anyway,
funny though, when they introduced him, like I thought they were giving him this air of like he knows he's the senior in school, so he's gonna be a dickhead. But no, he's an absolute sweetheart too.
Totally.
Probably the biggest one out of all of them, if I'm being completely honest.
Good guess. Yeah, I would take that bet. I think that if I was to think about it a little bit longer, probably is the sweetest. With all that airy stuff,
which plays into his character too,
100%.
in such a big way.
Yeah, I love him. He's my, like, I love the boys. I love the
big three, the actual trio. Big three.
yeah, and like you can break down their characters into a whole bunch of cool interactions and inspiring moments as well. And so I could gush about them, but as soon as Lemillion went into that whole thing, I was sold. I was like, oh, there is depth. There's depth to be had here.
Man, you got me wanting.
And
to
then I love
his
design too. Yeah, you should. And then take it from there all the way to fully caught up, because you won't regret it.
Maybe that's what I should start on after I finish Demon Slayer, is get back into My Hero, because
I'm into it.
There's a lot. I have missed a lot, I can tell.
Yeah.
And if I get to see more of my boy,
we were talking about it before. Yeah.
Then I am all for it.
Yeah, and he's got, like, just quick touch on it, he's got an awesome character design as well. He stands out. That show's got kind of a wacky art style, and so they really make bold decisions. With Grape Boy. He's got a totally different style to him, and then you look at Lemillion, he's got a totally different style to him. He just kind of punches out, and I love his, like, Calvin and Hobbes dot eyes. And
it's big, so funny. Smile. Like, he has all the features of your typical anime superhero. Then all of a sudden it pans up to his face, and it's not something that should even be there to begin with.
Yeah. It's got like a Saitama One Punch Man level of contrast to it.
Oh, and they make a joke out of that too, because they just have his face pop out of the wall randomly
through the wall.
Oh my God! I didn't even stop to think about that until now.
Totally. So good. And then his costume is dope. Like, this is just a little personal story, but when they only showed Mirio for like the last little bit of that season, very brief look, and then we had a long wait until season 4, and somewhere along my wait for season 4, I'm not a manga reader for that series, and so I had not seen his hero name. I had not seen his costume. And I had them spoiled during that long wait. And it was a glorious spoiler, because it just got me so much more excited for season 4 at the time. Because I was like, Lemillion? What does that mean? That sounds so cool, And so great hero name choice. It's just unique and imposing. And then his his outfit design it's got a classic superhero look.
It does.
But then it's got the million across the chest and a great color palette. It's bold and bright and some of my favorite colors. I love like yellow and stuff, and so it just pops. And so just to get I'm just spicing in a little bit of character design talk on this one because it's one that I really love. And so yeah, Mirio on a lot of levels. So
more to your point on his costume real quick.
Yeah,
he's always smiling and goofy, and you see that a few times in his costume. But the longest tenure you see him in his superhero outfit, he is dead serious, and
Yep.
I don't know why it makes the outfit work even more.
It's business. It's business mode in a way. Like he goes to work.
The second he's got his outfit on, you better start running.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Nice.
So that's me blathering on about two different ones that I did not expect to get to first, but you really hit it out of the park talking about the goofy master.
Yeah.
So good. Such a good archetype.
You got to start with the cool casual guy, then you got to bring it around with the fun-loving dingbat.
Totally. Somebody's got to mix all three of those together.
That'd be cool.
But I don't know if I think it'd be a little bit of oil and water when trying to mix the cool bit of edge, because like Kakashi's more chill than he is edge, but
yeah,
you've got that chillitude, that chill edge, and then I don't know if it exactly would mix entirely with the goofy, because goofy's kind of rambunctious and it kind of takes you far away from that chill, but maybe somebody can do it.
I'm sure there's a character out there and we're just not thinking of them right now.
We'll hunt them down.
Yeah, we'll find it and we'll figure it out.
Love it, man. We've already covered some really good ground, and there's more.
Yeah.
There's more. What other guys you come to the table with?
Man, I genuinely cannot. I have a huge list of characters that I absolutely love for one reason or another, be them like, surface level reasons or like the deeper reasons that I ended up figuring out on a rewatch or just thinking it over. But
yeah.
I have a favorite character type, if that counts for anything. Go for it. It's another like old master type character, but it's the one who genuinely cares for his pupils, like absolutely hands down loves them. The two best examples I have for you, one is Aizawa. Yeah, there's definitely one, but these two, and I think you'll agree with me, throw them out there. One, Orokodaki from Demon Slayer.
Yep.
He loves his kids to death, unfortunately.
Yep.
And I didn't realize, I'd never picked up on that until the rewatch. Like, he absolutely loves Tanjiro and Nezuko.
Yeah. That's
so cute. I'm sending another image. These are from the manga.
Do it.
Manga. And it's so cute. And it shows you who he is. Like, it shows you how much he loves these kids. And it's cute. And I love it.
Those are fantastic.
They're adorable. Look at you guys can't see it, but Nezuko has the cutest little smile you've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. And
I love characters
and so
like
true.
That. And it's so important to have a character like that. How many times have we seen like the older character who's just so used to tragedy falling that like they're not really shaken up by it anymore, or they don't really want to acknowledge that it happened.
Yeah, and Irokodaki is a really good call out. Like, you totally blindsided me with that. Like, what a little niche side character to, like, not side character because he plays a pivotal role in Tanjiro's life, but like what an unassuming character to bring to the table in this conversation. You really caught me off guard with it, and it's such a good example of what you just said, where he's already witnessed countless pupils die to the Demon Slayer exam effectively, and that's shown to us with the two kids that play a part in Tanjiro's training. Then you've got their sort of spiritual successors being kind of Tanjiro and Nezuko under his care, and you're so right. He's had this onslaught of pupils being taken from him. And instead of being completely cold, like he's a hard ass teacher, but he's not cold. He is this fatherly character to these two.
And it's so funny you bring up those two characters, because I I know they said it the first time I watched it. I didn't realize until the second time, like, they say it out loud, like, we love Orokodaki more than anything. He's our father, basically.
Yeah, totally.
And I didn't realize that. Like, I didn't, fully grasp that the first time I watched it. And this second time around happened. I was like, oh my God, even in death, these kids will do anything to make sure that this guy doesn't have to go through another heartbreak.
That's so incredible. And it's so, like, this is a total little aside, but that is the beauty of a rewatch, people. That is a beauty of a rewatch, because you don't pick up on half of this depth the first time. Like, you get the big nuggets slap you upside the head, but when you go back and watch something like that, and you don't have to just get taken by the big beats, you can, like, dig into some of the little details.
Yeah, you see the small stuff big time in spades.
Yeah. Well, what a cool character to bring up. And I would say maybe Aizawa wasn't one of the characters you were going to bring up, but he's one that he caught me off guard with how much they made him care about his pupils. Mm-hmm. He appears to not care. He looks like this still kind of a young teacher situation where it's just like, does he really want to be here? Like, with the way he portrays his character.
Yeah.
And then as time passes, you're like, oh, this guy cares about maybe two things above all else. Like, one, the students in general, like their well-being, and two, their actual education. Like, there are moments where they dig into Aizawa and they are really putting on display, and I respect this and love this because I've done a bit of teaching. Like, I really respect the teacher role, and they really put a spotlight on his care, his level of care for the education of the youths under his tutelage. Right.
They do, though.
Totally. Was he the second one? Did I call it, or do you have another?
But that is a good example. But that was a good one. That was a good one. I'll give you points for that.
Thanks.
We can expunge on it a tiny bit real quick. They do show how much he cares about the kids when the very first arc, they're all throwing the baseball, and he's telling Deku what to do. And then Deku nails it perfectly on another try, and you can see the pride in Aizawa's face when he does it.
Such a cool moment. Like, I'm so glad you bring it up, because it just gives me goosebumps because I'm easy.
But it's such a good moment, though.
It is such a good moment because he's, like, doing it in a way that makes you think that it's... like, I can't remember the wording exactly, but you make it feels hard on Deku. But then Deku just, like, he takes it and figures it out, and then they put that pride on Aizawa's face, and you're like, oh, it's come together. Like,
it's
killer.
It's getting there, yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Nice.
God, that needs a rewatch too. Jesus, so many rewatches, people. But
you're making me feel better about my favorite choices, though, because actually, off air, people, not many people, but some people in particular, gave me a hard time for putting My Hero in my number 3 spot. Well, that's a defense argument for another time, I think. But anyway, hit me with this other teacher character, because I need to know.
Izumi
or
Curtis.
Caring character.
Izumi Curtis, 100%. She is the best.
She is best mom right there.
She is though. Oh my God.
Oh, dude, good call.
That's why that's the big reason why I love her. Like, okay, so for anybody who hasn't seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, there's this, it's in the manga. I don't remember if it's in the anime, but, like, she breaks down this wall that's in who is it? Was it Greed? Was it Greed's lair? I can't remember.
Yep. I think it.
Yeah, she breaks down the wall and she starts beating the crap out of all his henchmen. And do you know why she did it? Because they attacked her kids.
Yeah.
And
she's strong, but she's like they do a good job of, like, making that impactful. Like, the viewer knows the weight of that, because you're just like, I can't name names and remember exactly who beats whom up, but at this point, like, the bad guys aren't pushovers, and you know that Izumi is not going to stand a chance against Greed, and she just, like, storms in there in mom mode and licks all these dudes. Like, it's so impactful, because you're like, whoa, like, she shouldn't stand a chance. She shouldn't be confident in her ability to survive this altercation. Like, this is very dangerous, but it doesn't matter.
Nope, because they went after her kids. That's the big thing. It's
beautiful.
And I didn't finish the thought, but they said this in the manga. Greed was standing next to Alphonse, and he tells him, "Man, your teacher's really strong." And Alphonse is so cute. He just goes, "I know, right?"
Oh,
it's
that's
so cute.
Good.
But her character, like, that's probably the best example of the the sensei,
like caring,
sensei. The caring sensei. But it's more than that, because for people who know her backstory, like it's so heartbreaking. And then all of a sudden, here come these two kids, and they have the opposite backstory of hers, and it gets even more heartbreaking because they try to do what she did. And this is where I will agree that Brotherhood is better than the original, than Full Metal Alchemist. In Full Metal Alchemist, when she finds out what they tried to do, she beats the crap out of them. In the second one, she hugs them because she knows what they're going through.
What a cool difference that you've drawn attention to. Like, that's such a cool difference.
And that's like the big thing about her character too, I think, anyway, in those two stories. Because, like, she still loves them in both stories, but I think that showing of love in Brotherhood is so much more powerful.
It's done at a really powerful time, because you're so right. In the original anime version, she is still loving, and then in Brotherhood, she is still an intense, like, hard-ass teacher character. Like, those two things are preserved within each other, but I think that they just play those cards, play those moments out at better times, at least in this example for sure. That hug is like perfect timing in comparison to, they put some cool spin on it in the original as well, that it's like she's beating them up and
then she hugs them.
They know that it's exactly. But I think you're so right that the recipe is there. Like, the timing of the moment is just so exquisite.
Yeah, the fact that she just goes in to embrace her kids. And by the way, she calls them her kids a lot, and that every time I think about it, my heart does a little flutter.
Yeah. Oh, because
I love Izumi Curtis so much. She's my favorite character out of all of Brotherhood.
Oh, good choice. Really good choice.
Now that's one out of left field for sure.
Yeah. It is. The whole character is. I was just about to say that. Like, this is. It's part of the beauty of doing this podcast is we are going down paths that I did not expect. I thought that. I thought that I was just going to make this a conversation about Vegeta, people. and we are now talking about Mirio and Aizawa and Izumi Curtis. Like, she is taking the cake right now for, one of the most interesting characters that's been brought up tonight. Like,
God, she's the big reason I want to rewatch Brotherhood, because I think she also has maybe some of the funniest moments because of like her
really good comedy.
Yeah. Because
her
of her
affliction.
Her affliction just pops up randomly and it scares the crap out of her kids.
Yeah, something that I think was better done in Brotherhood for people with the taste for it. They do the more. This is coming from the guy who likes Mirio's dumbass face. They do the very cartoony style. They pop into the cartoony style in Brotherhood. They definitely did it in the original too, but I found Brotherhood had a better
execution of
injection of comedy, and execution with the lots of cartooniness at the right time.
They did it properly in Brotherhood for sure.
We should both rewatch that.
I am so down for that. Oh my god,
it's a masterpiece.
It is, and just through this one example, the adoptive mother, who's also probably one of the strongest people those two kids have ever met. I love Izumi. God, she's the best.
I love Greed.
Greed's cool too.
And very much more so in Brotherhood, because
absolutely.
All of the Shing stuff didn't take place in the original anime, and it was a bit of an unexpected turn when I first watched Brotherhood, and then I never knew up until this point. I had no idea that I liked the archetype of I guess possession archetype, like I have a second voice in me archetype. That was never on my radar, man. And then it was like I'm a big fan of the dub for FMA. if I'm being honest. And
Really?
Troy Baker's voice. Yeah. Do you watch it in Japanese?
I do.
Interesting. It's like we'll do like a dub versus sub episode one of these days, and we can dig into that. But it's on my very short list of dub only.
Wow.
And I think that one's probably an exaggeration. I just haven't spent basically any time with the sub version. Anytime I've turned it on, I've been like, whoa, this isn't what I grew up with.
Yeah, I get that absolutely.
So, and the reverse might be true for you. Who's to say?
Oh, I guarantee it will be.
You know what? Maybe when we rewatch it, I'm not challenging you to watch in English, but maybe when I rewatch it, I will give it a go in Japanese for as long as I can kind of tolerate it, because most things end up being better subbed, as everybody can.
I think
most people can agree.
Yeah,
but
we can save it. I'll just make the one note, like certain things do get lost in translation.
Absolutely. Like that Gojo line I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It can be as little as that and make all the difference. And so it's very true. And you got to think in sub, it's already getting lost. Or it's already getting translated once.
Yeah.
Like, I could only imagine the impact that it would have being a native Japanese speaker and getting the lines
the way they're supposed
direct.
to be. Yeah.
We'll circle back to that when we talk dub versus sub, because it's an interesting thought.
We'll get there.
But Greed's English voice in Brotherhood is a gentleman named Troy Baker, who has just a deep and badass voice that I had never heard before. It was the first time I heard him, and the contrast of him and in Ling's mind with Ling's voice and Ling's his reason for taking Greed on. Like, I'm going to bring this back to characters here, get back on the rails. Really cool character duo in that you've got Greed and his level of power being kind of bestowed upon this other, like this kid. And there's something about the kid wanting that power that's so menacingly cool. Like, his goal in being in this country is to bring power back to Xing and become the emperor. And the power he finds is friggin' Greed. And he just takes him on. Like, he wants that possession to be, and they utilize that power in a synergistic way. And I think maybe that's why I like the character so much, and why possession type multiple personality thing was not on my radar, was probably because you don't get to see it done synergistically very often. And so you get a conflict between Ling and Greed for sure, but there's a big there's quite a bit of a camaraderie between them. That's not the word I want to use.
No, I think that's the right word, because they kind of,
you know what I mean, though? They're on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. They kind of grow into that. It starts as an uneasy partnership, then it just kind of grows into like this. It's
mutual. That might be the word I want. Like, there's a mutual symbiotic thing.
Yeah, that's it. I was gonna say, it turns into an odd couple situation almost at the end, instead of just like being, completely on two different wavelengths.
Yeah, totally. Man, thank you for bringing up Brotherhood.
Man,
these characters were not on my list, and fantastic.
Well, let's stay on the Brotherhood one really, really, really quickly, because Brotherhood did justice to a character that original FMA did dirty to, I think.
Oh, I think I've got a guess.
It is Ed and Al's dad.
Oh, that wasn't my guess, but that is better than my guess. That is, he's garbage in the. Well, for a similar reason, I was gonna say Alphonse. I think that Alphonse got better development. But wow, that's overshadowed completely by Hohenheim.
Thank you.
He was kind of terrible in the original. I don't love the way the original goes. Right?
Literally, the only good thing that happened to him in the original was when Ed charges up from the hiding place up to their grandmother's house to deck him.
Oh yeah. And you're like, whoa, this has meaning. But
it's also really hilarious that he didn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
He just went for it, dude.
Totally.
They didn't even do that in Brotherhood.
No, there was a totally different, like, not totally different relationship, because there's still this like estranged father roaming the land doing weird stuff kind of thing going on, but there's still a bit of a different relationship. Like, that character is a completely different character in Brotherhood, to your
Absolutely. Point. They did him justice in Brotherhood, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Like all of the homunculi, like the whole the whole conflict, I think, in Brotherhood just made more cohesive sense. And Hohenheim's like role in that was just far more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
nice.
That's another great character right there when you utilize him the way he's supposed to be utilized.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely love characters that are burdened by whether it's guilt or shame or whatever. There's growth to be had there, right? And he's literally carrying a philosopher's stone worth of souls.
Yeah, he is.
And learning them all, like, again, going back to that theme of self-mastery in a sense. Oh, that's heavy. It's super heavy.
Yeah, gotta rewatch Brotherhood now.
Well, I'm glad it came up in podcast episode 2 because this is we didn't dip into our top 5 anime in episode 1 back then, and this is Brotherhood's in top 5 for sure. So,
real quick, going back to episode 1, I forgot a part of my beginning agenda. I left out a formative anime.
Oh, please. Let's take a quick break on characters and let's go formative. What do we got?
Quick break. I left out a very big anime from my childhood, and that was Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh, man. Full guilty admission.
Okay.
I've not been able to watch it all. My little brother got me the first half of it on DVDs, and I was only able to get through a chunk of it, and I'm like, man, here's another one of those that I know is a classic and I know has just a lot of weight if I could get through it. But when I was watching it, it was not hitting me at the right time. I bet you anything, if I were to watch it now, it would hit completely different. I'm so glad you brought Yu Yu Hakusho up. So you've seen it all, you love it all. Tell me more about it.
I feel like when I was a kid, I watched it start to finish. I rewatched it a few years ago because it was just there, and I was like, "Is this what I remember it is?" It is. It's incredible. I watched up to, I can't remember what they were doing. They had just finished the Dark Tournament arc, which is the best fighting tournament arc I've ever seen.
That's what people say.
It's so good. I would be shocked if you didn't walk away loving it.
I can only imagine I would, because I'm a sucker for a tournament arc, but I've not seen that far.
You have to at least get that far, because that's so phenomenal.
Well, tell me this. I would love to have this spoiled without the story being spoiled, but does the anime have like a decent ending point? Like, does it tell a decently encapsulated story, or does it leave it kind of in a wishy-washy, we couldn't keep up with the anime?
I don't know, actually.
All right.
Because I stopped watching once I got to a certain point, because I think that's kind of when the burnout started. But I think the manga was done by then, because this is a beautiful full circle thing. The creator of Yu Yu Hakusho is Yoshihiro Togashi, who is also the creator of Hunter x Hunter.
Guess when I learned that?
Today?
Nope. Almost. The other day when you messaged me the name of the creator of Hunter x Hunter, because that's a mangaka that I don't know by name, admittedly. Like I'll just come out and say that. And so when you messaged me that, I was like, okay, this has to be Hunter x Hunter, right? I look him up and I'm just like, no way. There's no way that like Yu Yu Hakusho is legend. You know?
Man.
And I know that, even though I haven't gone and watched it. And so very full circle when I saw that earlier this week when you messaged me. So I wasn't going to reveal that on air, but let's be honest. That's the truth of it. I just learned that this week, and I'm stoked that I did, because wow, what a cool artist to have created both of these titans.
Absolutely. And and it's totally fine to not know the name of a mangaka, because I feel like if you do know their name, like, then that means their work resonates with you in a very big way.
Yeah.
So I think it's totally fair.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But that's Yu Yu Hakusho. That's a classic that goes back onto my list. The list is getting way long, but it's like always been on that list, and now I gotta bring it back.
Now it's been bumped up a little bit.
Totally. Yeah.
Nice. That's all I did for a long time, man, is just watch anime.
Yeah. And so that one was really formative at the time, and then brought you eventually full circle to Hunter x Hunter. Mm-hmm. It's a top anime of yours, and it links back to
back to childhood.
Yeah.
And I didn't even
Wow.
realize it until I had finished my first run through of Hunter x Hunter, and then I looked it up. I was like, no way. That's not real.
Right? That's how I was feeling a couple days ago. It's just shocking. I'm just like, very beautiful.
It's perfect. God,
Nice.
so good.
What other characters you want to dip into?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. You know what? We're gonna keep it up with the trend of cool white-haired guys.
We can't stop at this point.
No, can't stop. This is a basic answer, but I think you might be able to agree with it. Trunks.
You're gonna call Trunks a white-haired character? His hair is purple, and nowadays it's blue.
When was his hair purple?
Through the whole anime?
What? No way.
Yeah, man. I'm probably ruining your childhood at this point. Trunks' hair is it's as purple as the waveform I'm looking at on my PC right now, which no one can see. It's purple, and then now in Super, it's actually it's been retconned. Not retcon. It's either been retconned to blue or some sort of hand wavy, like Bulma's hair went from purple to blue, so Trunks's has now gone from purple to blue in his age or some such. But yeah, his hair is lavender.
Someone's lying. This is clearly white. Somebody's lying to me. I'm gonna find
Now,
who's lying.
is it me or is it your past?
That's clearly white, but in this picture it's also purple.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I'm so excited to, like, I don't know if this ruins the character or makes him cooler, because I always was definitely had a crush on Trunks for partially his purple hair. But I can see why white would have made you think he was a real badass too.
That looks, oh god, maybe it's just CRT TVs weren't good at handling color.
That's fair. It's very light lavender in the anime for sure. So
I definitely don't like the blue look, though. I'll give you that. I haven't gotten that far, but I don't like the blue look.
Yeah, it's a little strange. And the funny thing is, like, just to maybe confuse a little bit, because there's definitely timey-wimey stuff going on, but you get to see Kid Trunks and Future Trunks together. And this is why I don't think it's like a full-on retcon. I think it's something to do with biology. Is Kid Trunks has purple hair, and they have Future Trunks have Bulma's same blue hair color. And so I think that it's some sort of like, yeah, you know, when he was young, his hair was this lavender color, and as he grew up, it shifted to blue. And I think they're insinuating that that the same thing happened to Bulma. I'm sure that it's a piece of deep lore that I'm speculating on right now, but other people have confirmed. I have no idea. But I agree with you that the lavender, like the purple, it's cooler than the blue.
Oh,
I like the blue too, but it's way cooler.
Yeah,
we already have Super Saiyan blue, so we don't need Trunks' hair to be blue.
No, we don't. That's just going to confuse people even more. Maybe people who are colorblind and have apparently been colorblind their entire life. But no, I love Trunks. That one's for superficial reasons too. He's just a cool dude with a cool sword who does incredible stuff.
Totally.
But he's actually really... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you.
Well, I was going to say, he is actually really pivotal to the entire story.
100%. Like, couldn't agree more. He totally pivots the story. He's literally pivotal.
So, spoilers for a almost 30-year-old series now. How's that feel? How do you feel about the tightening grip of time? Does it feel good? Go watch your cartoons. Anyway.
It'll help.
It will. That's what I do.
It certainly will.
But a quick spoiler, Trunks comes back in time with medicine for an ailing Goku at a very dangerous point for humanity.
Yep.
So
and solves that problem. Mm-hmm. And he comes in, and you know what he does? He normalizes the Super Saiyan, and that is just attractive to me. He's not the first, but he normalizes it, and by that I mean, like, you see Goku become a Super Saiyan, and it's a very big deal. And then they defeat Frieza.
Oh,
that's right. Back on Earth.
That's right.
And Trunks' entrance is to come in and one-tap Frieza, who we just watched for 50 episodes beat the crap out of Goku, you know, and he comes in, one-taps Frieza, and then says to Goku, like, prove to me that you can become a Super Saiyan. And then they both become Super Saiyans, and then my favorite character of all time, Vegeta, is very upset by this. and that all springboards. Like, one could argue that Goku would come back and normalize the Super Saiyan himself because he's now got access to that. But there's something really cool about Trunks coming in with his badass look, his badass jacket, his badass sword, one-tapping Frieza in a badass way, and then becoming a Super Saiyan like it's nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say, he does it so casually.
Yeah.
To a guy who had to unlock it in a painful way.
Yeah.
Trunks is the best.
He's such a cool character. And cool enough that, like, this is a big spoiler for you, and I apologize because I spoiled it earlier, but they wrote him back in. They bring him back in Super, and I suppose that's all I'll say. I think it's a really cool arc that they bring him back in, and I think that it just speaks to how much of a fan favorite Future Trunks is, because he definitely is.
Oh, Future Trunks 100%. Kid Trunks I don't remember a whole lot about, to be perfectly honest, which is maybe a good thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's a bit of a throwaway. Like, they underdeveloped Goten and Trunks after the 7-year time jump. You've got these two little kids, and they don't do much with them. No. And they might do a little more. They're the focus of the manga right now.
Really?
I haven't read this month's chapter. Yeah, I think a lot of people are disappointed because a lot of people don't care about Goten and Trunks, but I'm all for fleshing out characters, give them more screen time. Like, they've aged them up, so Goten and Trunks got a little bit of an age jump, and they're teenagers now, and I really appreciated that because I've wanted that for 20 years. and now maybe we'll get to see, like, teen Gotenks. I'm sure we'll get to see teen Gotenks.
Oh, that'd be a cool character design,
right? Totally. So anyway, you're not missing much with Kid Trunks, but maybe that's yet to be seen, because maybe 20 years later we can get some cool youthful Trunks and Goten doing cool stuff.
God, that'd be so sweet.
Yeah, we'll see. Really good call out, though. Like, I love characters that are just badass on the surface. And again, he's badass for other reasons too. He does really cool interactions with Vegeta.
Yeah.
Throughout that whole arc as well.
When he's just stuck back in time hanging out with his dad.
Yeah. Yeah, spending like a long amount of time in the hyperbolic time chamber with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think one of the coolest things that happens between the two of them is they come out of the hyperbolic time chamber to fight the androids and ultimately Cell, and Vegeta's still in his much more prideful much more prideful personality along the storyline, and he lets Cell transform further and gets wrecked, and in and among those fights, when he's unconscious, Trunks actually waits until Vegeta's unconscious to reveal more of his power, because he doesn't want Vegeta to find out that he's become stronger than him. And I just think that's so spicy.
God, that's awesome.
You know, it's just so badass. And down the road in Super, you get some, like, they do some incredible stuff with Goku and Vegeta, and that puts them way out ahead of Trunks in my opinion, and in terms of power levels and stuff like that. So he kind of takes his rightful place again once he's a cooler character. But it's really cool to see prideful, not endearing Vegeta do cool things but get wrecked, and then have Trunks worried about what his father is going to think of him if he finds out that he's way stronger than him.
Man, it just proves further that Trunks is the coolest.
He's so sick. He's just so cool. And he's got a very edgy and cool character design without being a very edgy character.
That's true.
I could say that.
No, it's true. Like, they make him look the way, they make him look one way, but his personality is entirely different.
Yeah, I would say so.
He's basically his mother in terms of personality.
Yeah, he has way more. And that makes sense given his backstory. So they do a good job with that. Nice. Well, thanks for bringing us to Dragon Ball Z, because I would be remiss. Like, we've come a long way, and there's definitely a couple more interesting characters that I would love to dip into, but I would be betraying myself if I didn't at least give Vegeta 5 minutes. Because he's
him all the time
my
he
favorite
deserves.
character of all time. Yeah?
Go for
You don't
it.
want to ask that of me, man.
It's too late. I already said it.
I can go way too deep with Vegeta. I am a Vegeta fanboy through and through. I think that where they've taken him to this day, and unfortunately you haven't seen some of that, so and I'm sure I don't really have to dance around spoilers, but like I will, just to keep it brief, like they've evolved his character from this place of, in the Saiyan saga and the Frieza saga and even in the Cell saga, he's really unlikable. Even if he becomes
he's
right?
He's a douchebag.
He's a douchebag. He's completely unlikable. And even in the Cell saga, he's still like that, even if he gets way more powerful. And in the Cell saga, I love how hard it was for him to become a Super Saiyan. I find like that's a very important part of his story, and I do find that very cool. But even once he figures that out, and you're really rooting for him in that sense, he still continues to be just a dickbag and terrible. And but then you start to see these glimmers of character development in that like it happens in the fight against Perfect Cell, where you get to see him rage when, like, up until this point, you don't get to see Vegeta care about future Trunks. Like, he knows that he's his son, but he does, and he's spent literally years with him technically at this point because of the hyperbolic time chamber, or at least 1 year. I can't even loving Dragon Ball as much as I can or do, I don't recall how many years they spend in the hyperbolic time chamber. I think it's 1 together. So they've spent a lot of time together, but Vegeta's still this cold, non-fatherly figure.
Yeah.
And then in the fight against Perfect Cell, Cell blasts Trunks through the chest, seemingly killing him, and Vegeta goes ballistic. And that's a cool moment. And then little recalled moment where Gohan beats Perfect Cell with like the Kamehameha beam struggle. Vegeta plays a massively pivotal little cameo in the success of that endeavor, because Gohan's struggling with his internal battle of releasing the rest of his power, and all the Z fighters are behind Cell blasting him with their pitiful energy, and Vegeta's like, why are they even trying? This is a waste of time. I don't remember if he's hopeless, but he's definitely not wanting to participate, but he's almost like tapping his foot, like bouncing his knee in antsiness. Like, you see him standing on a cliffside and he goes Super Saiyan for almost no reason, like out of anger for like, what am I doing? Like, why do I feel drawn to go help these idiots? And then he does, and his theme in the Bruce Faulkner mix is so good, and he hits him with a big bang, and it's enough to like shake Cell in such a way that Gohan overcomes him, and I just love that moment. And honestly, from then on, it's just home run after home run after home run for me as far as his character development's concerned, because he just grows from being that unlikable douchebag to just like being a good father and putting like Goku on the right place in the right shelf in his mind, so that, you know, he's buddies with Goku. He wants Goku to stay alive. Like, he doesn't want Goku to go away, because he comes to terms with the fact that Goku is what pulls him up. Goku is ahead of him inevitably, and he doesn't want to stay behind him, but he knows that if he doesn't have Goku around, he may not continue to get stronger. And to me, that's just glorious. And then you take it into the realm of Dragon Ball Super and the Dragon Ball Super manga, where he's developing things that are just completely not what you're used to seeing in Dragon Ball Z. I mean, they're completely what you're used to seeing in Dragon Ball Z, because they're just new forms. Yeah. But we're in the realm of gods and Ultra Instinct and all of this now. And I could go into Vegeta accessing Super Saiyan Blue and all of this cool stuff, but I won't keep rambling. I just think that he's a really cool character for the same reason we talked about at the very beginning of the episode, where he began versus where
he ended up now,
and how he got there. Yeah, it's just it's just it's a lot. Like it's a lot of growth. So
that's another contrast thing, because when you look at Vegeta and you put him side by side with Goku, like it's a legitimate night and day situation with those two.
Yin and yang, man.
It really is.
Totally. And they're doing that with their powers now. Like I don't know how much you know about their current powers, but they're actually diverging their powers in a way where the philosophies behind their new forms and the way their new forms work are actually like yin and yang to each other kind of thing. And I think that that's super poetic contrast, like you're saying.
Man, now I have to catch up. I think they were on a cruise ship. Am I speaking right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, that's...
the very, very, very beginning with Beerus.
Yeah. Have you seen Battle of the Gods, like the actual movie version of that?
No, I want to, though. I've only heard incredible things about it.
Yeah, I honestly, for like a casual Dragon Ball watcher who doesn't want to sit through... Because, like, look, Dragon Ball Super is not Demon Slayer, sadly. Like, it's not even my hero. Like, the octane is just not there. It's still living in the past as far as its pacing and quality are concerned. Mm-hmm. But there's still really big gems there. And for a casual watcher who just wants some, to get some Dragon Ball Super in their lives, I really do recommend watching the movies, Battle of the Gods and then Resurrection F.
Okay.
They came out before Dragon Ball Super even came out in anime form. So you watch those two movies and they happen back to back. Like they are a really good pairing together. And then what the anime did is they retell those movies in their own way. So they actually rehash the movie content again.
Oh, I see now.
Which is there's pluses and minuses. Like there's good and bad in both. But I think I would recommend to yourself, I would just watch those two movies. They're easier watch. They're way higher quality. And for the most part, they're better than the anime. There's still some cool gems in the anime. But,
okay.
That's my recommendation for anybody watching. And then you can skip right to the Broly movie just for some eye candy because you'll miss all of the anime in between, but you can definitely watch that movie without watching the entirety of Dragon Ball Super, even though it takes place after the anime Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah. Man.
So, which introduces more cool characters. So
Broly.
Anyway. Yeah.
Man, there's a character that had a very turbulent past.
That's a good word for it, my man.
And it's for him, it's the appropriate word. Because the first Broly movie, the very first one, really good. Really good. Second movie, I don't remember. Third movie, I hated it. I hated it so much. It shouldn't even exist.
It really shouldn't. And my very critical opinion is like even you're giving the first movie too much credit because I think even I think that it's got a lot of eye candy and a badass berserker Saiyan, but mm-hmm. I think that I personally didn't love any of the Broly movies, which is too bad because he's this beloved, like intense addition to the roster, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he does have a really cool backstory, but I would say that all of my distaste for the original Broly is completely flipped on its head for the where they took him in the new stuff because
really?
redo basically because that's what it is.
Okay.
It's not the same Broly. It's like a total redo, and some people probably can't stand him in comparison. I think that he's a way more interesting character, and it's telling a way more interesting story with the new movie.
Okay, wow.
I highly recommend.
That would be a fun watch, the original versus the new one.
That would be so cool, actually. It would be really cool to do that. Like if we both like back to back those and then came back and talked about them. Yeah. It's a weird little like subject, but it would be kind of cool to compare and contrast because you get different tellings of a similar story, but ultimately a different story, and it'd be cool to see what we landed on.
Yeah, and I'd love to see it because I've only ever seen the first 3 Broly movies, and like I just said, 2 and 3 don't even. Well, I hate telling people not to watch something because they might like it. You never know.
But I think Broly number 3, Bio Broly, doesn't really fall under that category.
You could probably skip Bio Broly, and your life would not be altered.
Yeah.
If you did watch it, it would be altered for the worse.
Yeah.
Speaking of the DBZ movies, this goes back to Trunks and how he got his sword. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh, you bet. From Tapion. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know if people.
I
don't know if that's like legit canon, but I Ever since I watched that movie, going forward, that for me was canon.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where you definitely want to make it canon, or at least that kind of part of the story canon. But canonically, they haven't gone into where he gets his sword. I don't think they've done a lot with Trunks lately, and so maybe they rewrote it. But that movie is very cool. Wrath of the Golden Dragon is that
it's
one.
Awesome.
It's a spectacle. I have my own gripes with that one, like how they beat the enemy with Super Saiyan 3 Goku doing the Golden Dragon Punch is like an ass pull, because here they're telling this story about Trunks, right? And you've got all the Z fighters getting like their butts whooped by Hildegarn, but like if you rewatch that movie, and maybe I need to rewatch that movie, but I just very strongly remember Trunks getting his sword and all of that being so cool. Like you're saying, like it's just like a really cool, and it's beautiful art and all of this.
Yeah, it is.
And then somewhere out of the blue, Goku flies in and does a move he's never done before and one taps the enemy. And then the story, like, you know,
and then it's over.
Credits roll, and I'm like, what? But what? We were just telling a story about Trunks, and like I know that Trunks isn't strong enough to beat this guy, but they could have done something creative. I don't know.
Yeah, they could have had him like stick his sword in the dragon's tooth or something.
Sure, yeah. What a good call. Like, yeah, get the little Super Saiyan kid with the new sword to like go in and hit a weak spot in such a way. And then, okay, you know, have Goku do some move. I don't think it needs to be a Golden Dragon Punch, which looks cool, but came out of nowhere.
And is a mouthful to say.
Yeah, yeah.
And the DBZ movies did that a lot, where it's like, this is such a cool concept. Wait, what happened? The movie just started, now it's over.
Yep. Very true. Definitely eye candy and still cool. And I agree with you about like, nope, that's canon. I love it. He's got a sword from this cool alien. Nope, you can't change my mind. Dude's got an ocarina. He's just like Link in the Dragon Ball Z world.
He even has the ears.
100%. Yeah. So that's really good. Well, thanks for bringing us to Dragon Ball Z, where I just can't turn the faucet off.
No, we had to get there sooner or later, man. It was part of our childhoods.
Yeah, really big part. Like Vegeta's the man. When I'm gonna do this for the sake of the podcast, and my pride as a weeb.
Oh,
when I
laying down the gauntlet.
When I graduated high school, I was telling you before, I didn't bother to put my love of anime on display. Like there just wasn't really an arena for it. Like I didn't need to be that kid. Like there wasn't any part of my identity I was really showing to the populace at large. I was just kind of the guy over here playing hacky sack with my friends, talking about anime for sure. But you know, I wasn't wearing my Naruto headband to school. Although if I had one, maybe I would have.
I'm wearing a Naruto shirt right now.
But yeah, I almost wore my Naruto shirt to this podcast recording. But alas, next time maybe we'll sync up.
Next time I'm wearing my Frieza shirt.
Ooh, you got a Frieza shirt?
Yeah, all his forms are on it.
What? Man, okay.
It fits me weird because I have a weird torso, but...
when we talk villains, we got to talk Frieza.
Oh, yeah, we do. That's 40 minutes right there.
I agree. He's good times. But closing the loop on this high school thing, just to have a little laugh here. You know when you go up and cross the stage and get your diploma or whatever.
Did you do the Vegeta salute?
I did not do any kind of Vegeta salute, but we got to write our own blurb for like Tyler would like to thank.
I'm wincing. Oh god, I don't know where this is
I
gonna
did
go.
it because I knew it would go completely unnoticed.
Okay,
because yes, it's to a crowd of 1,000 people. Like I was in a pretty big graduating class, so yeah, it was a big graduating class, and all of the parents and siblings were in this. Like I think the venue was like a big church or something. It was pretty big, and it went completely unnoticed because they were rifling off.
It was like a rapid fire thing.
It really was, and so they would read the blurb from everybody. I heard it; they said it, but it wasn't. It didn't cause a laugh or a wince or anything like that. It wasn't as cringy as I had hoped because I did it as a joke, but also as serious. I put in my blurb like, you know, he'd like to thank, and it's like the usual, like his parents and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't make it long, but it was just a rapid fire of like his friends, his parents, and Vegeta.
Oh my God.
And they said it. And again, it got no response whatsoever. I had one person, a friend in the crowd who, you know, we liked Dragon Ball Z when we were 11, and he's like, dude, I heard that, you know, but he was the only one, you know, and he had an ear out for it. So it didn't have the cringy, hilarious effect I was hoping for, but I did it just because I'm like, you know what though? I mean it. Vegeta got me here. I love this stuff. It's just too big a part of my childhood and my teenagehood for that matter. So I put it in there hoping that it might get a laugh or two, and it just kind of blitzed by, and I'm like, they said it. They said it out loud, and it's funny and cringy.
Man, that wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. I thought you were going to like do the Vegeta salute with the 2 fingers and then just peace out of there.
Just do a beam into the audience or something.
Yeah, or do that thing where
Naruto run.
Yeah. Or yeah, oh my God, yeah, that.
Yeah, just put my fingers to my forehead and instant transmission.
Yeah.
And then just like Naruto run off the side of the stage.
Oh my God.
Missed opportunity.
If you can rewind time, now you know what to do. But no, that's completely admirable though, that the fact that you haven't, I said it in the last episode, you haven't let that go, that and it's been such a big part of you this entire time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like I do feel that way. Like it has stayed with me the whole time. You know, it's just this background, like maybe people can hear it as we're talking, but the way I like to think about these characters, like parts of what they go through become little nuggets of philosophy and psychology that kind of guide me along. They're not my only guide. I've got humans for that, and books and culture and things, but it's a part of I guess it's a part of pop culture that has done that for me and hasn't stopped doing that all the way along. So so I jokingly put Vegeta in there, but I also seriously, I put it in there for a reason because to this day he's a top character, and I can say that he's a top character in a way that is meaningful. Whereas when I say that, or I really mean it, I should say. Whereas when I say that in the last episode, Dragon Ball Super has to take my top spot, there's a level of nostalgia there that really puts it there and keeps it there, that I could argue my way out of Dragon Ball being in that top spot, but none of the other amazing favorite characters on the list I'm looking at right now can boop Vegeta. he takes that spot for real. Yeah. So he's my Kakashi.
That's a level of conviction and commitment that I can get behind, especially for
Weeb with me, bro.
Especially for a guy like Vegeta.
He's just so shitty.
He is. By the way, I'm not letting this get away. You didn't mention what a dick he was in the Boo saga.
Yeah, his you're right. I fast forward his growth for the audience sanity, but he was such a dick, and it leads to other really cool growth moments where, like Majin, him taking the power from Babidi of Majin, like that is both immature and very cool where it goes, because he takes it for an immature way. It's like everybody knows it's a backstep into who he used to be, but it's such a gargantuan backslide because he's like going against his principles almost, where he wants to develop this power for himself, and he almost caves into temptation of like, you're going to give me the power to beat Kakarot, I'm going to take that power. Now, he does 2 very cool things with it. One, when Babidi tries to control his mind, he has one of people's favorites moments of Vegeta's, which is where he says there's one thing a Saiyan always keeps, his pride. And what I love about that scene is he's refusing to allow Babidi to take control of his mind. Like, even though he accepted power from someone else at a cost, when Babidi comes calling and is like, I need you to do this, he's like, no. I got this power so that I could beat Kakarot. So that's what I'm going to do. And he transcends Babidi's control and takes the power for himself, which is really badass, but it still doesn't erase the fact that he became a villain again, and did so in a way that undermines a cool part of his philosophy up to this point, which was, I'm going to get that power. Like, I'm going to, beat Kakarot. And so he takes this crutch power and kills a bunch of people, like actually kills a bunch of people, and becomes a big ass obstacle for Goku, given that there's this crisis of Majin Buu being resurrected. And then there's everybody's other favorite scene, which is Vegeta's atonement, which is just another, it's another major turning point in his development where he finally, he atones, he takes his own life in a sacrificial attack and before doing so verbalizes his care for Trunks, Bulma, and Goku, which is just a magical thing. And then that leads us to him coming back. Like, they literally bring him back, and by they I don't mean the Z Fighters, I mean, like, I forget who it even is. It's like the Kais, and it's like people in the other world who are just like, we need to send someone to help Goku and the others stand a chance. I guess it'll be Vegeta, and then they bring Vegeta back, and he continues to be a badass who's now apologized for his behavior, and shown that he cares about all these people in his life. And then he goes on to just be a punching bag for Majin Buu, and does so in a way that's beneficial to allowing Kakarot to beat Majin Buu, which is really Vegeta putting his pride on the shelf in a really mature way. And then at the very end of that fight, or nearing the very end of that fight, he verbalizes Goku being the best for now, is kind of the emotion put behind it. He's just like, you are the best. I will concede you are the best. But he does it in a way where he's not giving up. Like in GT, which is a whole nother episode we can do. In GT, his character takes a terrible turn. But in Super, they continue that theme that they set in that Majin Buu scene, where it's just like, yes, Goku, you're the best, but I'm coming for you. Like, I am right there with you. We are going, so good call. He did continue to be a total dick in the Buu saga for a long time.
It shows how long it's been since I've watched any of that, because I just get bits and snippets of everything going on in my brain.
I'm like telling you these, and you're getting these little like nostalgic flashbacks.
Yeah, and like I'm trying to piece back an entire story through little nostalgia bits. I'm like, okay, I can't do it. It's time for another rewatch, folks.
Yeah, so good. I've got we've been going a long time, and I could keep going forever. I've got a couple like quick hitters that we could dig into another time. Like, I could literally not say them now, and we could do a follow-up on the character theme if you want, or I can just rapid fire them and just so you can hear them, and then we can go deep another time. I would love to hear if you've got another like rapid fire few characters that you want to go into, because I've definitely been blathering.
Oh man, I should have come into this one more prepared. I'm really trying to think of like my favorite characters at the moment. Like I said at the start, I have a lot of characters that I absolutely love to death, but then I have like those two that are in my number that are, they're in the number one spot. Let's be real here.
I love that. I love it when two things share the number one spot. It makes me happy.
I think we're going to be seeing that a lot in this show, is our inability to just be like, nope, this one's number one and this one's number two.
Yeah, totally.
Which either says a lot about us or about our choices.
Yeah, or our inability to make those choices. That's true.
I've
got one that I think you'd agree with.
Oh, hit
me
with
it. That you can riff on if you do. All right. We touched on it last episode, but I think it's worth the honorable mention. How cool of a character is Kamina? Like, what a unexpectedly cool character, because he's got that just boisterous energy where he's, I wouldn't say he's annoying, but he's really just kind of like pushing his philosophies and ideals onto the others around him, but he does it in a way that it eventually becomes contagious, and this philosophy that pushes the show all the way through, like, this friggin' spiral that will reach the heavens, the whole idea. He embodies the idea of spiral energy in that show.
Yeah, he is the drill that pierces the heavens.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so he's a cool one.
I love him, and it's like you said, he's this loudmouth idiot, but at the same time, he's really caring for everybody that's around him.
Yeah,
that always plays into me with characters. Like, yeah, fine, whatever, be a loudmouth, be a douche. How much do they actually care about the people that are around them and the things that are happening? And if it's a lot, then guess what? They're already up there for me.
Yeah, because you know that their loudmouth douchiness is like either coming from a place where they care, or it's like just how they care or whatever.
Yeah,
it's just very.
And when we first meet Kamina, he gets thrown into a jail cell with Simon. I refuse to say his name in the Japanese pronunciation because it sounds really weird.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it.
But the whole cell starts rattling, and Simon gets scared to death of it. And Kamina just hugs him and tells him it's gonna be all right because he's there. At least I think that's what he said.
I mean, I don't remember what he says in that scene particularly, but I would believe that it's something like that because it's the, like, don't believe in yourself, believe in the me that believes in you.
Yeah.
What?
It's been so long. For all I know, maybe Simon was upset that he was scared, and Kamina was telling him, "Hey, be scared. I'll be brave for you," or something like that.
Could be that. Like that would be on theme as well. But to your point, he really is that loudmouth character that ultimately he's not putting his money where his mouth is in the same way as some of the characters we talked about before, because he's not like. So he's not that power fantasy where he's so physically gifted or skilled that he's blowing anybody out of the water, but he backs up his loudness with like actual courage effectively, where he's just like, like courage in action. Like he may not be so overpowerful and self-mastered that he's able to put his money where his mouth is, but he absolutely is able to take action when other people aren't, and then that inherently inspires the people around him to follow, to do the same, like to take that same courageous action, bold action.
And he's able to hold his own in a fight just because of how much he's able to believe in himself and the people around him. Totally.
And he's just like such a brawler in that way. He certainly has skills. Like he gets in a friggin' mech and pilots it no problem. Yeah. So he's got skills. And
he gets into a sword fight with a guy he's never met, and he comes out on top.
Yeah.
As he's drawing that sword for 8 years.
Oh yeah. So cool.
It's so stupid, but that was so awesome every time I think about it.
Such a like powerfully angled, exaggerated looking scene kind of thing, and then he's just like slowly pulling this odachi for 10 years out of its sheath.
It's so absurd, but God, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Gurren Lagann is the best.
And just like to put a pin on him, like one of my favorite scenes is him leaping out of his mech at Simon
to punch him
in the face. He's like, "Let me see you grit those teeth." God, like, who the hell do you think I am? Like, it's so like, it just gives me goosebumps. He's just I wouldn't have expected a character who sounds like he's all talk to be so actually inspiring. Because he's not all talk. He's action and stuff too. So that was one that I thought we could both relate on. I would say we've already talked a little bit about Tanjiro. He's on my list. Like we talked about him in the last episode too. We don't even have to go super deep in, but there's another cool character there, right?
There's an incredible character there.
The compassion and the pure kindness, heart in the right place-ness of him,
Yeah, and the compassion shows through. You see it in when he's doing the whatever it is to become a demon slayer. I just watched it and I can't remember it. The demon that killed all his predecessors, he kills him, but he's so heartbroken for the demon that he holds his hand as he's dying.
And I think some people, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's just the people I hang out with, and actually it's not the people I hang out with, just in case they're listening.
It's you guys, you suck. I said it.
What I was going to say is I think maybe the same people who don't like Deku crying, maybe they look at Tanjiro and go, okay, we get it, compassion. Like, okay, we get it, you're compassionate for every demon. But I would say they do a really good job of showing the demon backstories. Like, they don't belabor the point. They show just enough of the demon backstories, and Tanjiro always cares, and it's always really cool. Like, later on in the series when he does the... like before he meets when we meet Inosuke, he does the drum demon, and then he doesn't step on the drum demon's papers on the ground.
Yeah.
Remember that compassion, that act of compassion? That's pretty cool.
Although the only problem is like they didn't have Tanjiro go or explain why he put so much effort into avoiding stepping on those papers.
That's right. We don't hear it from Tanjiro himself. The demon is just like...
in his past life, that demon wanted to be a successful writer.
He did. So the demon wanted to be a successful writer, and everybody, particularly like his boss or whoever.
I think that was his father.
That makes way more sense than his boss. I don't know what projection I'm throwing out right now.
Wow, man.
But his father thought his writing was garbage, right? And like tore it up and disrespected it physically and figuratively. And then the demon draws attention to the fact that Tanjiro, whether intentionally or subconsciously, is not stepping on any of the papers. And it's assumed that that's because Tanjiro's the type of person who doesn't want to sully
someone else's work.
What another person... Yeah, exactly. Which I just think is like very cool symbolically. It's another example of... That one's almost a mix of show don't tell and show and tell, because like they do kind of explain it through the demon's
point
words,
of view.
But you still, like, Tanjiro doesn't outright say, like, I'd hate to step on these papers because I care about this person's work, you know? He just kind of does it.
They seem really important. You might need them for work tomorrow.
Yeah. But Tanjiro's a great best boy. I really like Deku as well. And I suppose we talked about him quite a bit in the last episode.
You know, I can't remember if we did. I know we brought him up a fair few times. Well, we talked about, like, his whole backstory and how... You know, it's so necessary to see him just be this heartbroken kid.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Absolutely.
People are like, he's a little crybaby. Shut up. I said it in the last episode. I'm going to say it again. I probably won't say it to your face because you're probably bigger than me. But I'll say it right here in my mic.
Crying's cool when it leads to growth.
Yeah, man.
Let him cry.
Let me cry.
What... Do you have anything else to say about Deku's awesomeness? Like, I have a couple observations about the reasons why I like him, but I think that there's a bunch of different reasons to like the guy.
I'm not sure. I think it does all come back to the compassion element for me, which is kind of a recurring thing. But like I said,
he's another great example.
Yeah, like I said in the last example or episode, like, you know, there's just so many cynical, rude characters in media nowadays that to get the nice ones, I'm going to glom onto that because it's the breath of fresh air that we all need.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. It's so true. The one little bit that I was going to tack on to Deku that I've always liked ever since he came on the scene for me is his note taking. Mm-hmm. I find to be a really cool trait. Like his mumbling and over analysis of things is really cool. Like I'm very much an analyzer, and to the point where you and I've talked about this off air, like I kind of paralyze myself from doing stuff because I'd rather learn about stuff and really just over learn it before actually taking any action. Well, Deku, I really related to that, but he's more of an inspiration for me in that way because he is inherently an action taker. Like that's why All Might was drawn to him. He's just like, whoa, this kid will take heroic levels of action without a second thought if the situation calls for it. However, which I find admirable. However, on the side, in the background, Deku is also an avid note taker and analyzer because he had no other quirk, right?
Yeah.
So he loved heroes, and he loved the strategies they used to be great heroes. And so he takes just ample notes about all of this and then continues to do so once he's bestowed with power. He ends up integrating these things together, and the note-taking and mumbling. I love the comedic, like, mumbling to himself.
Everyone
getting
like scared of him when he mumbles.
Yeah, it's so good, and I just think that that's a neat trait that I don't really know if I've seen that done anywhere else, and I think it's really well done and kind of probably relatable for more people than just me. Like, I think that over-analysis is cool, and to see it used in a productive way is neat. I
didn't even stop to think about it until you said it. Like, and I've seen it so many times, but I guess I've just gotten used to it. Like, he takes the notes, but then he uses them. Like, he uses every bit of the knowledge he's been studying up and applies it to himself every time. Yeah. He's a good kid, that Deku.
He is. And so I don't have this last one on my list. I've got 3 more, though, that we don't have to keep going. But I have to dip into a 4th, or I suppose a 3rd green best boy.
Oh, okay.
which is Gon. And I can't speak to Gon very well, but I think about him when I think about these other green best boys, because I know that Gon goes in directions. Like I've had some spoilers and I haven't seen this in context, but I've seen some aspects of Gon's rage.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen them in context, like I said. But aside from where it seems to go in that direction and how that kind of comes out, I can't wait to see that progress. But at least in the short to medium term, all the stuff that I've seen, he has a lot of, like, he's thoughtful. He's like this really cool mix of thoughtful but still an aloof character. Like he's still got a Goku aloofness to him, but he is very compassionate, really cares enough to think about things, just doesn't have the ability to like crunch numbers or whatever. They make steam come out of his ears, and so I think that they've really blended a lot of cool character traits into Gon, and even though I don't know him as deep as some of these other characters, I find him to be a very cool little kid.
I love Gon too, and you're right. The thing is, he is kind of like Goku in that he's not a strategist. That's the thing. But he is smart enough to get by. And the whole thing is like it's another, like he's just a good boy. Like he means well and he wants to do well. And he wants to, like, even the villains, he doesn't want to fight the villains. He wants to know who they are and why they do what they do. And he wants to know the human element to them too. And the whole story for Gon is like he's never really experienced loss until we get to where you're at in the series, which is the Chimera Ant arc.
Yeah.
He's never had like that huge life-changing heartbreak. He's witnessed some atrocities, sure, but he's never been on the side of the fence where it's happening to him.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Like that alone makes me want to see it play out.
Maybe that's what you should catch up on tonight is more Hunter x Hunter.
I considered it. Yeah, you're probably right. This whole project is really making my list grow, and I've got to put it into some kind of order and just binge it the way that I've been binging Ippo. Now that I can't get to the second season of it, I should catch up on something else.
Yeah, there you go. I'm putting my vote to more Hunter x Hunter so you can really see what all I've gushed about.
Yeah, there's not much more for me to go, so maybe that would be the lowest hanging fruit, and I should just pull the trigger on it.
Rip that Band-Aid off, man, and you won't regret it. I think you'll love that whole last few arcs you got.
You got to be right. I from the little bits that I've had spoiled, and they're floating in the void. I don't know how we get from point A to point B, but the little bits that I have seen, I'm like, wow, I gotta know how we. I gotta know what happens.
It is a journey.
I need context.
I would put the Chimera Ant arc either behind, it depends on the day, either behind or tied with the York New City Phantom Troop arc for the best one. It's so good.
And is there one more arc after Chimera Ant in the anime?
I think technically there's two. There is...
Oh, wow.
There is the Chairman arc, and then there's the another Zoldyck arc.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
More of Killua's family.
Yeah. Let's go. All right. I've got three that... It's funny. I probably could have spent the most time on, like, probably two of these three, and I was really excited for one of them, but I feel like we should slowly bring this bad boy to a close. Right. I'm going to rapid fire two right out of the gate and ask you a follow-up question. So the two that I'm going to throw down are Ichigo and Zaraki Kenpachi, and the follow-up question is, how much Bleach have you checked out, my friend?
I have gotten to the arc where they save Rukia.
Fantastic.
From the wherever it was, and they find out who all in the generals and the higher ups are have betrayed them.
Yep, the good old plot twist.
So I am way back there.
That's okay. Like that is a really good place to be, because that, some people think that's the best arc, and I would say that it really sets you up for, like, it gets you hooked into investing more time in it, because you've now gotten to see Zaraki Kenpachi, and you've gotten to see like Renji and Byakuya and even Ichigo himself. You get to see all of them shine and do cool things that kind of makes you want a little bit more. And then you get the big betrayal plot twist that you're just like, what?
And you left out a very important person. You left out Toshiro.
Toshiro is wonderful. There's your white-haired. His hair is white.
There we go.
You can have that one. Yeah. Fantastic captain. Really cool character. Really funny interactions as well. Lots of good comedy surrounding Toshiro. And sick powers.
This is the coolest powers, and he just carries himself with that confidence that we've been talking about nonstop.
Definitely. He's got a cool personality. The way his confidence is baked in there is really neat. Because he's just this like youngest captain, probably needs to prove himself, but has, instead of having like a loudmouth Bakugo type feel to prove himself, he's got the exact opposite. He's just like cool and collected and badass, and I think his actions kind of speak for themselves, sort of thing, rather than trying to be loud like a Bakugo.
Especially since everyone around him has already proven themselves time and time again too, because of the whole seniority thing they've all got going for them.
Absolutely, like so much to live up to in that way. And then instead of barking louder, he just does is a good captain.
Yeah. He just goes for it.
So. Ichigo and Kenpachi, love those guys. Kenpachi's an easy hand wave in this conversation. He's my, like, you brought up Trunks as a superficial reason, which I think there is depth there, and there's definitely depth with Kenpachi as well. But I'll just say easily, let's just say coolness points, like just pure badass
really
berserker.
Is cool.
They just really had me at. All of the other captains have Shikai and Bankai, and he is just a menace without them.
He really is. He is a monster of a man.
Oh, so cool.
Just because he loves to fight.
Yeah. That's a trope that I just suck up. Just like loves to fight. Like I love Berserker more so when it's done well, because Berserker can also be just kind of annoying and pointless. But when Berserker is done well, which I think it is with Kenpachi, and done especially when it's linked to that like I just love to fight trope, it becomes highly attractive to me. And then layer in the fact that he's the Rock Lee of the story, you know, like he doesn't have access to certain types of power that other people do, and he does it on raw Reiatsu, like just raw power level basically, is super duper badass. So he's one of my like superficial gushes.
I can get behind that 100% because the very little I've seen of him, I was like, this guy is a psychopath. I love it. I need more of it.
Yeah, psychopath is on point for sure.
He's a madman.
You know, Ichigo, we'll find a way to dive more into Ichigo's story. Like maybe we can talk more about psychology or something. He's a really, I really like him and relate to him just because of, he's got a lot of depth. There's two main reasons. Like he's got a lot of depth and goes through some really cool, little spoiler for you, but he loses his powers later on in a way that like the road to get them back is really cool to me. And that's actually part of the story that most people don't like, but those waves are parts, like they just have Ichigo go into this place of like, I just want to protect people. I just want the power to protect. And that's really put on display, you know, at the times when he is made powerless. And I think some people probably think he's a bland character, but I find he's really deep in just ways that are different than your typical like Naruto Asta kind of archetype of like, I want to be the Wizard King, next Hokage. I'm going to be loud about it. I have a goal that's specific, even though their character, like their stories are absolutely deep as well. Their way of showing what their goal is very to the point and out loud. Whereas someone like Ichigo, it's kind of harder to place what his goal is. Like he's almost like well, I guess Tanjiro has a pretty straight goal, but there are other characters that don't have as direct motives as like a Naruto or an Asta or a Luffy, and I really like them when they're interesting. Like Ippo, you don't know Ippo, so I won't go into it, but he wants to know what it means to be strong. What the heck does that mean? Like that's a very weird, vague, infinite goal, right? And so he's gonna keep, you know, boxing and having these experiences and maybe just like trying to figure out what strength is. And Ichigo is not quite the same, but along the same vein of vagueness, where he doesn't have a Wizard King Hokage type goal of getting there from point A to point B. He just wants the power to protect
Yeah.
the people around him. And that doesn't give you a particular direction, but it leads to a really cool psychology when you throw in some of the struggles that he has to contend with.
I like a good old-fashioned I lost my powers, I need to get them backstory.
Yeah, it's funny I drew attention to that because that's objectively everyone's least favorite arc that's not filler. And so, but once you get up there, maybe we can circle back to it because there's just some of those moments hit me pretty hard. But just to do one last touch on Ichigo, and we kind of said this about Kenpachi as well, but I have to also throw them in the character design category.
They do look really... I think every character in Bleach has a really solid design to them.
It's good style. Yeah, good style, good designs for sure.
Especially as it progresses and art and animation progressed with it.
Yeah, it got way better looking.
Absolutely.
As it went, and the new 1,000-Year Blood War arc is incredible. But even just the captains, the coats on the captains was just a really cool design sort of element, and Ichigo's black, his big sword, the fact that when he's Bankai, his sword is more of a regular katana rather than a BFS. It's really cool design choices, and it's purdy.
I like a good purdy sword.
I'm gonna throw down one last one, and then I'll give it back to you to close it out. And it's just because I have to get to this one because it's the weirdest one on my list.
Okay, you have my intrigue.
Have you ever seen Shokugeki no Soma? Food Wars.
I have not.
Really?
No.
Have you heard of Food Wars?
I absolutely have, and I swear to God, every time somebody tells me about it, they're telling me a different story.
Oh man, it caught me so incredibly off guard because when I first watched it, it was just a joke. It was like a friend showing me, he's like, you gotta see this, man. They take a bite of the food and they love it so much that their clothes blow off, and it's did you know that about it? Have you seen those little bits?
No, I thought it was a lot more intense than that.
It is. That's where the story is going. So I'm glad that's the rumor you've heard because
thank God I set that up. Then.
It's at its superficial level, it's a fan service anime.
Mm-hmm.
They take a bite of food and their clothes blow off, and obviously everything's blurred out with light flares and stuff, but it's very much a fan service anime of both boys and girls eating food and having their clothes blown off in their imaginations for the most part. Okay. Some of it's not in their imaginations, but the majority of it is, we talked about it with Ippo. It's visual metaphor. The food is just that good that it feels like they're, I don't know, naked in a field of clouds or whatever. So somebody shows this to me and I'm like, ha ha ha, this is funny. I can't believe this is a thing. And then move on. And I did truly laugh. I thought it was pretty funny, but it wasn't enough to compel me. I go on and I watch another episode on my own time and I'm like, the joke gets stale really fast.
Yeah.
You only need so much fan service in your life and the joke gets stale really fast. And I don't know what pushed me forward, but I watched a few more episodes and somewhere down the line, it becomes a shonen battle anime.
Oh no, really?
In the form of Food Wars, in the form of we're going to have a chopped cook-off. And,
I was going to ask.
But it's freaking badass. I have to come out and say that because, and that's just my take on it was out of the blue, there's a character who, wants to be. The character who I'm about to bring up is Soma Yukihira, the protagonist of the story. I find him to be one of the coolest protagonists ever, and I don't understand why. I don't know why I think that this kid, typical, stylized, cool anime character protagonist, why I think he's so cool. But he has this energy about him, and it's around the time that he beats some kid who wants to be his rival or something. And there's a lot of really good comedy in this anime. That's the other kind of allure to it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good comedy. But there's this level of badassery where like maybe it's somewhere between a shonen battle anime and a sports anime, which are kind of all within that same kind of flavor of shonen, but using different media to make it happen, whether it's sports or food or actual fighting. But in this case, they have these cook-offs that are just tournament arc battles, and you learn cool things about food, and the food art is very cool and all of that good eye candy. But there's just, I don't know what it was, but there's something about this main character where he's got these catchphrases, and I'm not going to say them because they're in Japanese and I will butcher them, but they're like, he basically says like, enjoy your meal when he serves something up, and he does it in such a cool way. There's all these moments in the show where he puts together a meal and the characters putting on this air like there's no chance that they're going to enjoy this meal, and then the meal blows them away. And he does it with this, like, not arrogance where he holds out the bowl and he's like, I know you're going to enjoy this because I made it and I'm the best and I rock and I can't be beaten. But he does hold out his arm and hand it to them in a way where he's like, enjoy this meal. And there is a level of confidence where he's like, I wonder if they will enjoy it as much as I think they will. And then they,
they do
9 times out of 10 inevitably do. Yeah. So anyway, there's something about his energy. I have not gone back and rewatched that one, so I can't put my finger on it exactly, but I had to bring him up in this episode because he's just, in my opinion, a bizarre choice. Like, I never would have expected a fan servicey comedy food anime to bring me to a character that's kind of remarkably badass. So you should check it out sometime.
Now that one's a real out of left field, but God, I'm kind of sold on this now. I really want to see it.
It's funny. Like, it's actually like funny and cool. So, worth a few episodes to check it out.
You can glean a lot of incredible characters out of purely just the comedic series alone.
I totally agree.
Man, okay. Everybody's hyped up Food Wars, and now I need to see it just to piece everything that's been told to me.
And I'm gonna go watch Hunter x Hunter. It's time.
I don't think either of us will regret it. Well, first I got to finish my rewatch of Demon Slayer.
Yep.
But then after that,
you definitely do. It's beautiful, as we both know.
As everybody should know by now.
Well, this has been an extraordinary amount of fun. Like, I knew Characters was gonna be just a really wild ride, but and a juicy one where we would keep gushing. And boy, was I ever right. We are nearing 3 hours of conversation about anime characters.
I have some editing ahead of me.
Well, do you want to add any more to the length of this? Do you have any closing remarks? Any more characters that pop to your mind?
I did think of a character just a little while ago.
Lay it on me.
Okay, but I gotta ask: have you seen anything from the Fate series?
I have seen Fate Stay Night Infinite Blade Works.
That's
Is that
the
an
one?
anime?
Yep.
I knew I was
Blade
picking
Works.
out of a big barrel of Fate. So yes, I've seen Unlimited Blade Works. That's the only one I've seen start to finish.
The Fate series has the weirdest timeline known to mankind.
That's what I've heard.
So what you watched was basically like, I think that's like the main timeline, and then Fate Zero is like the prequel series, even though it came out first, I think. So
I may have gone and watched Fate Zero afterwards for that reason. So I may have seen a bit of or all of Fate Zero. I can't remember, but I remember parts of Infinite Blade Works because it was a pretty cool time.
It's like, incredible.
It's like beautiful too, like well animated,
gorgeous to look at. But my favorite character from that is, do I want to say the spoiler? If I said the spoiler, would it jolt some memories back into you?
I mean, it might, and there are no spoilers because I know I've seen it start to finish, so it may spoil. And I think for our audience's sake, they've now heard that a spoiler's coming, and they've heard a lot of spoilers tonight. So yeah, our show's full of them.
Yeah, but if you don't want this one spoiled, maybe I'll go re-record a time stamp for you to skip to. So anyway, here's the spoiler for Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. My favorite character
Here it comes.
is Shiro Emiya, also known as Archer.
Right.
So
yes.
For anybody who's confused, here's how things work in the Fate universe. You battle for the Holy Grail, yes, that Holy Grail, and you summon a hero. You're a mage who summons a hero, and it can be any hero from any point in time. They said that once in Zero, I think, but then they really used that fact in Unlimited Blade Works. So one of the characters summons a hero from the future, while everybody else is summoning one from the past. And the person she summoned from the future is a person she knows in the current time. And it is, as you watch this play out, it's heartbreaking because the character who he is now, he's this wide-eyed kid who wants to be a hero. Like, he just wants to do good and save people and help them in any way that he can. And he starts to achieve that dream almost to the point of, like, I guess it saying it's burnout is a very light way of putting it. But
it's the ultimate burnout.
It's the ultimate burnout. He spent so much of his time traveling around the world helping people and doing his best to do good, only to see it like I don't know what happens, really. I think he just sees that it's never enough, and it leaves him jaded and broken, and he becomes this hero in the future who travels back into the past to answer the call so he can stop himself from going down that road and just ending up like that.
That's so intense and heartbreaking in its own way.
It is.
Like, it's admirable, but heartbreaking at the same time. Like, it's so admirable that he goes, but then finds the futility in the never-ending need for a hero or a hero's work, you know? And then it's heartbreaking that he goes back almost like in a way of regretting that he's done this.
Yeah.
You know, like almost like a selfish, like, I've wasted my life, you know, doing all of this. And that's really sad, because one might say that he's definitely not wasted his life, even if the need for a hero is
too great
forever
to be answered. Yeah. It's
nice choice.
It's such an incredible anime. I love it.
That one was unexpectedly good, because at the time I knew nothing about Fate, and I knew nothing about the fact that it was probably the best one to watch, like, to start with. And it slapped. That was a good show.
Interestingly enough, I learned this, I think, last year. Unlimited Blade Works is like an alternate timeline.
I think you're right, which is just crazy.
Because there's another one. There's another Fate Stay Night, but it's not called Unlimited Blade Works. It's just Fate Stay Night, and I don't know what happens in it. It's been in my watch list forever.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Oh man, that is a cool one. I wasn't expecting him either. That's a really interesting character with a very interesting circular story arc.
And I've never really seen it done that way before, and it's such a heavy and poignant way to do it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we talked about it in the first episode, being able to achieve your dreams. It's like Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works tells you you can achieve your dreams, but sometimes it's not always the thing you should do, which is a little heartbreaking, yes, but it's kind of true sometimes.
Yeah, or even if whether you should or shouldn't is yet to be seen, but there's a cost to those dreams as well. You know, like I would still say that he probably should have, because, like, look at all the good he would have done throughout that lifetime of service. But
and that's how
did it come at a cost? Certainly.
And that's how it ends too. Like, the character Rin Tosaka, who summons Archer, future Shiro, she said, like, he's still going to do it. He's still going to do this thing that will inevitably break him, because he wants to do it. He wants to be that member of good in the world that needs it.
Yeah.
So.
You know, with that, I'm going to say, everybody go out there and don't regret what you do, but do whatever service that you think you got to do, whatever you're here to do. You know, just do it. And even though there's going to be, you know, a cost in time and energy, just go do it and find enjoyment on the way. And let's not regret it and go back in time and try to stop ourselves from doing it. How does that sound?
Don't do time travel to stop yourself from achieving your dream. All right.
Yeah. Go. Yeah. Just be kind to yourself along the way. Like, enjoy the process of trying to achieve those dreams.
And actually do go out and do the thing you want to do, because believe me, you will be so happy when you do it. Even if it doesn't live up to the great heights you built up for yourself, you can at least say, you know what? At least I got to say I did it.
Absolutely.
Just like this podcast.
In any case, appreciate everybody who's listening, and I appreciate you for the good conversation, man. This has been super fun tonight.
Yeah, likewise. I think we both needed a bit of remembering who and what we love in this fun little anime world.
And going through characters is just the perfect way to do it.
It is. It really is. But speaking of worlds, oh ho ho.
That is a can of worlds.
That's another one coming up. Don't worry. We have that one might not be as long, or maybe it'll be even longer. So sorry, future us.
Who's to say? No. All right. Thanks again, guys. This was super fun.